Hey guys, sup, how we doing? Um, so today we are going to finish the interview that we started on Saturday, was it? Didn't get around to actually finishing it off stream. Then the plan is to I don't know what game I want to play so far. I could do TLI or I could do D4. And I say D4 simply because if I don't try D4 now, I'm probably not going to do it after PoE 2. And I will be on PoE 2 for a while. So, like, the longer that goes on without me actually playing the end game, the lower the likelihood that I actually end up trying it. So, I just figure today might be the day I just keep trying it. I don't know. We'll see. I also want to start taking quick notes on, like, or at least writing down what my leaks, some things I plan to do for league start. As much as there's a lot we cannot plan, we cannot plan around what this tree is going to look like, where we're pathing on, if we're going, even what equipment we're running, because I don't fully know that I can even fit in Lord of the Wilds simply because I might opt to not go Lord of the Wilds. There's a lot that is still up in the air. The POE to load. Like realistically, there is so much. Wow, what up? But realistically, there's so much we don't know about the tree that I can't even make guesses as to what we're going to run. I know the things that I could run. I know I could run Lord of the Wilds with a talisman. I know I could skip that entirely and just run like a one-handed weapon with a scepter. I know I could just I could and I would stay here keeping stuff like trusted kinship, stuff like that. So it all, there's so much we don't know. So what I would like to do is try to figure out the things that I do know, the things that I know are solid, and also figuring out what order of ascendancy stuff we want to do. So we're going to do that after we're done with the video, and then once we're done with that, um, it's either going to be we play some Diablo 4 or TLI, one of those games. I haven't decided yet, but we'll play one of them, or it might be a shorter stream. No, I don't fully know yet. We'll see. But first things first, we need to finish the interview because we haven't actually finished it. I'm not, keep in mind, I actually haven't found where I am. I think I passed where like this. I just opened the video and I took it to a random point. So we'll have to find where it was. Because if I remember correctly, what were they talking about when I left? I don't remember.
Should it to be at its ceiling?
Wardrobes. Yeah, I think it was this.
There's all these different questions here, and the thing is that what we have decided here, and this is a
I think this was where
conscious decision we made, is that we wanted the
it went on for an extra hour
to be better than world drops. And then thus comes to the important part that comes from it, which is it can't be better than everything. It has to be better than some sort of category for some sort of build. So it's not exclusively better. It's not like, oh, the thing that comes from here is 100% better than everything else. It's like for this build, for this build, for that build,
Why don't I open TLI and just be blasting while I'm watching this? That works. Because I do still have TLI goals I want to do. And I can't do that with D4 simply because I have I the D4 experience, I haven't experienced the end game yet. And that's a big part of why I would even want to stream it to begin with. So I'm not about to split the attention of D4, yet at least. But TLI, I'm basically winding down from it. I've done everything I wanted to this league. I just need to farm up some upgrades, and this is a good way to do it actually. So let's do that real quick. Mm.
these types of characters or whatever are definitely going to want items from this kind of league. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to get. It's not like it's just trivial. It's not like it completely demeans the world drops, but we have made the decision here for sure that we wanted to say, and the Genesis tree was the big thing that we discussed when we were doing this, is like, well, do we want to be able to get things that can be better than what you can find in the world? And now, obviously, you still have to do the league in order to get the crafting material in order to create them. So you can't just fully bypass the itemization as is. But this is a decision we made. And as a result, yes, you get some pretty powerful stuff on the Genesis tree, and it's going to be pretty hard to get, but it is a thing you can do. But that is something you'll start seeing a little bit more from every league, where some are, for example, the Runes of Elder, and let's say it goes core and all of that. I mean, probably for some builds, the socketables that come from it are going to be better than any you could probably find in world drops for certain gear or certain slots, right? There's these avenues for each, and hence why the Genesis tree is focused primarily on jewelry. Like it just straight up gives some of the best items, especially for casters and summoners in particular, that you'd be able to get compared to things that you could find in the world. And I understand some people are like, I don't want that. I just want the world drops to be better. And some people are like, no, that's the target farming. That's what
I would say I'm on the side of I want target farming. I want the league mechanics themselves to be strong, and war drops are slightly not like I won't say they're unimportant, but they're slightly less important to me than league mechanic drops, simply because you can only farm so many league mechanics at the same time. So if those aren't worth it, then you run into a situation where you're reliant on lucky drops to make money. You know, that's why PoE 2 has been for the longest time. You're relying entirely on lucky drops. Whereas if the league mechanics are let's say, are stronger, then so long as everybody in the player base is now on one league mechanic, in which case other league mechanics would be more expensive. But so long as there's that split of people on different league mechanics have different things to offer, then there will always be a pivot that you as a player can make in order to make more money. It will always exist, simply because I can farm this one thing, you cannot. Therefore, I can drop this one thing, you cannot. And now this one thing is worth more money because more people are not farming it. Stuff like that. So that is where that is my preference personally.
want to be able to get. That's what I want.
I don't want the primary source of currency, or I don't want the primary source of currency. Like, let's say, if I had to pick one or the other, I wouldn't want it to be, oh, this is what everybody experiences, so everybody drops these things, which means these things are obviously just less valuable because everybody's dropping it. Therefore, I have to drop the thing that is so rare, people barely drop it, despite everybody being able to drop it. That is how I make currency. I would rather I would not devolve to that, like PoE 2 has been for a bit. I would rather it be, oh, I can drop this where the more common drops are a bit more expensive because not everybody can run it at the same time, and yada yada yada, and I can just make my money and play the game that way. That is my preference.
See that, and I want to go for it. And there's a bit of a different crowd for both there, and sometimes it tilts too far, where it's like, well, what's the point in doing anything but breaches?
Sure.
Just do the breach and move to the next area, do the breach, move to the next area. So there is a balance there for sure, and it can pretty easily over time tilt one way or the other. So we'll see what happens here, I guess. But the important thing PoE 2 does that PoE 1 hasn't been doing as well at, but is still something that we have a similar philosophy on, is that it should be that at least it's not for like every slot. Like if the Genesis tree could get best armor, best helmet, best gloves, best boots, best weapons, best everything. Well, what the hell why do anything else? At least now it's like, okay, I can possibly for some builds get the best amulet, probably for all builds actually get the best amulet. Sort of. And then for some, get the best rings for summoners and casters, and for that kind of example, then at least you're wanting to go, okay, here's why I want to do breach. I'll get these items when I have them good, and then I'll do this other league for this other slot, and do this other league for this other slot, and that's the 3 leagues you're farming. And then once you've got those gear, maybe you change to some other leagues. all the meanwhile trying to get mage bloods from world drop and to do headhunters and all of that.
Like that is a gameplay loop that I can be down with.
That is a decision we've actually made here. That is, I suspect, something we've never really necessarily talked about, at least not for years, about whether or not we want rewards from leagues to ultimately be better than world drops or more exclusive, or things that are ultimately exclusive to it. So it's a decision. It's where we're at, and we're going to try it, and hopefully we'll see how it goes.
That brings up two interesting challenges for me. One is how do you educate the players on knowing if there's the best of each of these? How do you overcome the challenge of making sure that the education portion of the players, so they know that you can get the best of each one of these leagues from each? And the other portion is then, how do you handle the situation of things like Alkengo, like the most standard, I'm going to run a map. Like if every other league mechanic has the best of something, does that mean Alkengo has like the worst of everything? Like how do you handle both of these challenges?
From the educational standpoint, well, that's kind of in each's league's responsibility. You'll learn that over time, generally speaking. But that's where the things like, okay, the Genesis tree, you can read the nodes, you can see the helper text, you can see what kind of stuff you can get out of it. You might not know exactly what mods, what tiers, and what values, but honestly, I prefer that to be within the discovery axis anyway. What it does say is,
how have I made 800 FP in King's March already?
One way people might find that out now is because when they mouse over their item, there'll be a
Six
little build
Lord.
guide there being like, you need to go to the Genesis tree and do this. So that can be one way that people will be finding that out.
Oh, there you go.
True, for sure. And so, okay, so what the other thing is let's say there's enough leagues and every league covers every slot. So like, let's say there's 10 leagues and each league is best at one slot. Well, why do I need to do anything but you can't do all 10 leagues at once, which is good. But it is obviously still important that, for example, you still have to craft these items. You can't even if you could print the base type, you can't just infinitely now craft that item, right? So that's an important thing of needing to make sure that you're still acquiring all the core currency. You still have to do the content with the leagues in it to do it, obviously. But yeah, this is a risk. For sure, I can see a world where this is just okay, well, any ring or amulet that ever drops in the wild, sure, it can be okay, it can be good, but it can't be the best. That is the consequence of this. It is 100% the actual consequence. And
I remember talking about this on Saturday.
As long as that we're niche enough with what the leagues are doing, that it won't be too problematic. But shit, it's easy to cross that line. And now, rest in peace, all rings on the floor. Just may as well filter them off and you'll never see them again. It is a fuck up that can occur. It is the actual risk. And as we add more and more content and it fills more and more of these voids, yes, you will reach that tipping point where now world drops suck. You will, almost certainly. It is something we will try to not have happen. But, in leagues down the line, yep, probably will. And there's always a way to address it. It's often just some one of those, then, okay, we've done this massive rebalance of this, retargeted this, and this, but it's obviously hard to know when we're not there yet because we don't have enough leagues covering enough slots to actually result in this problem yet. So still quite hypothetical, but I know I can see how it will occur, a year, two, whatever, after release. It will just be okay, whoops, we did it. And now there's, you filter out more and more items eventually. You run certain leagues. But at least there's the other benefit there, which is you can only run a certain number of leagues at a time. So at the very least, you'll be varying your gameplay. You're still going to be chasing for, and because your tree juices everything, you're not I'm only, because that is another actual benefit, and it's something that suffers a little bit in PoE 1. So let's say on your core Atlas tree, you juice ultimatum. That doesn't do anything to the rest of the map, generally speaking. I'm talking at a general level here. And so if you're fully invested in that league, or in League A,
you barely have.
And do League A, B, and C, and then because the rest of the map isn't invested in at all, you could just say, I'm going to leave, right? Because the value of doing more of those as fast as possible, assuming infinite map items, which you have probably most of the time, you'll just go farm that thing over and over and over and over again. In
yes.
PoE 2, because you can get full investment, that map is as valuable as it's going to be. and that league, every league is fully invested, and those leagues are as valuable as it's going to be. And so, like, aside from tablet modifiers specifically being one of the only access, and I guess technically choice on the Atlas Masters, but those are quite broad, or can be quite broad. You're generally going to want to kill everything, clear everything, and you're not going to have this thing where some stuff is hyper-juiced and other things are just at, like, base level worthlessness going on in the map.
Well, I don't know whether it was in the patch notes either, but it probably was. But do people know about the whole thing that we've done with tablets and like the random content? I'm not sure if you, I don't know if you guys are aware about this. Like, that's on the same vein, by the way, which is that it was really important to us to make it so that you don't feel the need to juice everything. Because like, this is coming back to that idea about, like, like reducing the amount of time that it takes to kind of get to the point where you can do infinite farm. There was this thing we wanted to say is that once you've filled all your tablet slots, you actually don't get random things appearing anymore, and that means that you don't feel the need to juice everything. Like, you can juice the several mechanics that you want to do, or like maybe it's just even one mechanic if you want to. You put all the tablets as being that thing, and then now no other random content doesn't appear, so you kind of don't have that. It's fighting against that same problem again of like needing to, of like making it like. So once again, you'd have the situation where if we had it so that to what Mark was saying, where a random breach could appear even though what you're doing is delirium, then it would mean that you've got content in the map you don't actually want to complete, and that's kind of the thing we're trying to avoid there. So you still can go the random route if you want by using like irradiated tablets and stuff like that, but if you want to, but if you're just focusing on a specific leagues, you just do it that way.
So wait. Does this mean that when you're doing a league, you can't see other leagues that are like? If I'm doing ritual, do I just stop seeing breach? Like if I have 3 ritual tablets, I think what I remember them saying is X amount of league mechanics can spawn in your map, and each tablet, was it each tablet takes 1 spot, something like that, which would not necessarily prevent other leagues from showing up, but it will make it so they are less likely to show up. But is this just straight up blocking the other leagues? It kind of sounds like that's the case. Or am I misunderstanding something? Because I mean, I don't think I am.
You want by using like irradiated tablets and stuff like that, but if you want to, but if you're just focusing on a specific leagues, you just do it that way.
I had a quick follow-up to what you were saying, Mark, about you have to do the league mechanic to engage with the crafting part of that league mechanic. And as someone who very much enjoys being a hideout warrior, crafting items in PoE 1, just sitting in your hideout and just doing my crafting, it sounds to me like the idea is to kind of like funnel the people into, for you to engage with this quote unquote best in slot items for XYZ builds, you have to engage with league mechanic. You have to quote unquote play the game. You can't just sit in your hideout. Is that an intentional design, or is that just a byproduct of the current design that you have right now?
I mean, you can still buy the items. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you can still. But is it intentional? I'd say most of the time it is intentional. I'm just trying to think of all the examples.
Is Hiveblood the only one like that, though, really?
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing, like, you can either always shortcut you can either buy the thing to do the crafting, or you can buy the thing at the end, right? Like, generally speaking, some element of, because we try and keep almost everything tradable, but Hiveblood in particular, yes, but then, okay, you can't trade, excess tribute offered, for wanting to do Rite of the Nameless spams. You can't trade, what else can't you? Obviously, you can't trade breach biomes, right?
Right.
So there's like different things of stuff that can be traded and can't be traded.
What does breach biomes have to do with anything?
Sure, all the rewards can be.
Like just the layout of the map?
To make sure that pinnacle keys can be traded and stuff like that. But yeah, there's going to be some leagues where you won't just be able to entirely sit in your hideout to do the crafting. You'll have to just buy the product if that's what you're wanting to do. Like if you don't want to breach, you're just going to have to buy the breach items. And if you do breach, well, then you get to sell it to those people, I guess. So when
I'm not sure this answers the question.
Which is a cool thing, by the way, because it still comes down to that meta market shifting. And I actually think this isn't. I don't know how I ultimately feel.
because my understanding of the question, at least, is that he wants to know if it is intentional that certain league mechanics, are like the crafting related to them is locked behind you going into a map and playing the game versus being able to hide out warrior. And breach is actually a good example for this because you need high blood to do this. But breach is also not the best example simply because high blood gives you the base. But you can also just buy the base and do the thing, right? I think a better example is Runes of Aldor, where in order to get the affix, I don't know if you put an item or if it just drops an item or if you can do both, but it's this Rune of Aldor encounter rolled 8 runes. Choose the 8 runes, and these are the effects choosing these runes will give. And let's say if you could put it into that bench, then it's like, oh, add a fire modifier or whatever. That one you have to be in the map to kill the mobs to then get the thing that you're using to actively craft. And of course, I think Runes of Auto, honestly, I'm not sure if it's crafting bench-esque, like you can actually go into the map and do the thing, or if it's purely base printing where it gives you the initial base and you try to go from there. We'll have to see, because I don't think we have enough information to know that one. But that's an example, right? And where I stand on the matter is I would prefer if hideout warrioring was an option for all the crafting, but like I don't mind there being ways to make certain things cheaper by actually playing the game or stuff like that. And this is because sometimes I don't like I may not like league mechanic X, Y, or Z, but if I can buy the byproduct of that league mechanic that I need to complete my craft, then I'm fine. I don't have to engage with it. But all of a sudden, if I need to engage with it, then I'll do it. But at that point, it's a chore more so than anything else. You're forcing me to do it, even though I don't want to. So So like, I personally would prefer if there were tradable stuff in each league mechanic, and it's fine if it's cheaper to running myself. Every retro tablet you will put cancels the chance of another mechanic eventually getting to 0. Yeah, I feel like that's what I remember them saying, something along those lines. So it makes sense. I don't know that I don't think I remember that it goes all the way down to no other league mechanic. I think that's what I forgot. But I mean, I'm all for it. I'm sure I heard it in the reveal and I was hyped about it then, and I'm still hyped about it because I don't like seeing random breaches when I know I'm not going to run the breach. Like, I know for a fact I'm not running it, but I've seen it. Yeah, I know they say irradiated tablet. I think you have to spec into it specifically. I don't remember if it's on the boss table or if it's on the masters, but they mentioned there was some way you would spec into it either.
About this when I actually will play it in an actual economy. But let's say minion meta. Let's say everyone's playing summoners. Let's say everyone's some sort of minion across the board. Let's just say, well, now am I going, well, I have to run breach. I have to, because the economy is such that it would be bad not to. And
that is also a byproduct.
Like, well, now I'm not playing the content I want to be playing, but on the other hand, I'm getting rich. So like, and maybe I am playing the content I want to be playing. So there's a little bit of like, I don't know, but then like all of a sudden, let's say a new build gets discovered and everyone's like, oh, this build uses this item comes from this. Everyone quickly change leagues what they're doing, which you can just do. Like that's a thing you can do aside from, again, there's some tablet farming you'd have to do and whatnot. But it's quite interesting. And generally speaking, this isn't, even though no one necessarily puts a label on it, that probably is how it naturally works. Like, even in PoE 1, that's somewhat true to some degree, where there's certain things you want to get, but it's just probably on less of an extreme and less of a less intentional level for sure, whereas we're being a bit more intentional about it here. So I think it will have that impact, and I don't know, like, there's something I'm happy about that in theory, but I don't know if I'll be happy about that in practice. And so that's an interest. And again, I can't test that internally because there is no economy, right? So none of us can. I mean, the 5 of us trading to one another is whatever. That doesn't matter, right? There's more than 5, but you get my point. And then the idea that if I feel like I have to play Breach because of X, or I have to play Delirium because of Y, or I have to play this or something, like, because I'm someone who cares about trade and cares about the wealth of my account, that could be something that actually makes me feel a bit sad at the end of the day, because at the end of the day I might want to just play the content I want to play for what the content offers, not for.
I'm not even entirely sure there's anything in PoE 2 that I'm so.
Play SSF, which fair enough, I guess, but we'll see what happens. I don't know.
I don't think there's anything I love so much that I would die on the hill of despite prices.
About certain builds being more
I will try. I feel like I will try Alva at some point.
That's going to then result in,
I don't think I'm going to start it because that shit that's on minions, but
necessarily play. But now you feel like you have to. So we'll see. Maybe people.
I'll probably be ritual enjoyer for a bit, especially early league, seeing as it's a lot of uniques.
Of really strong items in Breach.
Not to mention, I think my chase item is
granting an aura.
a ritual unique.
Yeah.
Can you have?
Was it my? All right, my bugging. The wand is a ritual wand, right?
Any aura?
Not wand, scepter rather.
Limited pool.
It should be every.
Wait, what? What was the question?
New absent amulet looks pretty good. Implicit is granting an aura. Can you have any aura on this, or is this a limited pool?
It should be every persistent buff skill that is on the uncut. Yes.
Every spirit reservation you can get for free on that amulet.
Okay.
There are 3 amulets. There's one for 30 reservation costs, one for 60, one for hundreds. It's obviously harder to get the hundreds.
And for my understanding of what this means, it doesn't mean we can get free minions. It means if a skill is gotten from spirit gems, like spirits, any reservation skill from spirit gems, you can get on the amulet. So for example, you cannot get skeletal snipers, but you can get summon wolf, because wolf is a spirit gem ability. Same way you can get ravenous swarm because it's from spirit gems, but you can't get skeletal arsonists, which are from skill gems. This is my interpretation of what they said here.
And thus the 60s over the 30s and whatnot. And yes, but again, like, there's a little bit of like good luck as well. You probably have to do a lot of farming to get what you want here. But this is what I was saying about when I was saying it does arguably offer the best item. It's just like the ease of, like, the rare equivalent of the mage blood of amulets, is like, it is there, and I want that to be something you can get. Now, does that mean world drop amulets are less valuable? Well, yeah, it will. It 100% will indeed result in that.
So if I think about my companion setup, would I end up using an amulet like this? Probably not. And I say probably not because I'm not going to be rage stacking, so I don't need eternal rage. And from the other spirit reservations I remember, there really isn't anything that I'm thinking I must use. I could use Ravenous Swarm, so I could go that route, but it's also it's a 30 reservation amulet, which is, cheap, which I don't mind. But like, do I think it's worth giving up to literally 2 amulet affixes for? I'm inclined to say no. But if I realize, oh, these minions hit very hard, Impale is insane, I need a minion that is going to proc in impale of these from these guys, it's always an option. Like Ravenous Swarm are really good for that. So it's one of those things that we'll have to see. But I doubt I would give up those two affixes. And if anything else, I'm almost inclined to believe that there is a different amulet that we'd want to use, you know? I feel like I remember seeing an onset amulet. I know they're onset ranks. I don't remember if onset amulet was one of them, but I feel like there are so many bases that we might find one that is not necessarily Spirit Reservation that we absolutely want. I think that is very likely. And on the rage front, we are really not touching rage unless we're in the top left of the tree, and we're not going to be in the top left of the tree. Even if we were going for Lord of the Wilds, we still wouldn't touch rage, simply because it's just a lot of investment for not a lot for my build at least. If we were naturally top left builds, maybe it would be worth it. Maybe.
And the same way that the existence of a headhunter and a mage blood demean the value of rare belts in general. Well, rare belts are in a bit of a sad state, hopefully a less sad state anyway, but rare belts are demeaned by the existence of very broad, very chase items. And so there's this interesting, well, do you want the chase items or not? And, you know, there's a bit of philosophy around that, and people tilt one side or the other. And so we're just effectively saying, yeah, here's this freaking OP thing. It should be hard to get, it shouldn't be easy to craft, and it should be something you want to chase, and there's a very clear path to it, not necessarily an easy path.
Hopefully that Delirium amulet is competitive with it on some level.
Yeah,
the double anoint one could also be something I go for, you know.
You can't reinstill those at all, right? Like the Delirium amulet, you get the 2 instills and you can't reinstall one of them.
I would think you can reinstill one of them.
You're locked.
I believe it unintentionally allowed you to replace one, but I did say it shouldn't. Like, it should just be you want to get as many as possible. And when you get the right one with the right 2 notables, you're just like, holy fucking thing.
Oh, that shit's gonna be dead on arrival then. If we can't even replace a single one, I don't see how we would use it. I don't see how you make a build around it that relies on it. At least not from a build creator point of view, because I can't tell you, oh yeah, just get this notable, but like you can't get this notable. You literally cannot. Or just get these 2. Like if you could replace one, then you know you'd be going for maybe this one on the bottom line or something. But yeah, that I don't know. We'll see. I guess. Not the biggest fan of that one. I'm not the biggest fan of that one.
God, I think I'd buy 6 or whatever. Like, you know, it's just, you know, you want that really, really, like, again, these are super rare but super chase, right? And
Sure.
you'll get one that has 2 okay instills and you'll still be happy, but like when you get the 2 that are the 2 you actually want, you're gonna be, I want you to really be stoked. So the point where every single time you find this, you're like, holy shit, this could be it. This is
Okay.
this is the, you know, the 5 mirror drop here.
On the topic of Delirium and jewelries for that matter, in Delirium we're now getting, you know, some additional crafting options when it comes to jewels, not jewelries but jewels. And I mean they're already
Keep in mind, this jewel situation was why I predicted the crafting change we got today. We were going to get it, because I didn't think for a second that GGG would allow us to go 4 crafted mods on a jewel. Like I just didn't think that was possible for them to allow. I didn't think they're going to make it broad on all items, but I figured at least jewels would be limited to 1. And in case you don't know the change I am speaking of, I am talking about, where are you over here? This one. All crafted modifiers are now guaranteed, but items can only have 1 crafted mod at a time. Desecrated mods no longer count as crafted mods, but items are limited to 1 desecrated mod. So this essentially, that means, let's say, I think essences are the most likely to be, you know, crafted mods that we'll use a lot. So you can only have 1 essence. If you have an essence and let's say I don't know what system there is. I want to say rune crafting. You put in a rune that says always. That wouldn't be a crafted mod. What the fuck are crafted mods? There's essences. There is omens are not crafted because they don't. I don't think they guarantee a mod. But I guess omens could be part of the consideration for this one. But I know there are some items that's with omens they stop you from being able to roll certain mods, and then there are other omens where they and this is especially map crafting, they stop you from getting rarity modifiers anymore, or they stop you from getting pack size modifiers. This is what they change that is also in this patch notes. Aside essences, what else do we have that is that would give you a crafted modifier? You click this, you get this mod. I guess maybe it's because it says always guaranteed, maybe even the more generic ones that will only tilt, maybe that's now guaranteed as well. I don't know, who knows. But I think it's very targeted at the new rune crafting system, where it's like you put in a rune and it kind of weighs the outcome of the next craft. I think now those ones are guaranteed, but they are crafted modifiers and you can only have one of them. I think that is more likely to be what this nerf is really targeting, so you can't use that on an essence or vice versa. We'll have to see.
Call it a fairly strong place is where we will put jewels, at least from most of our perspectives. So how do you guys feel about the balance of standard rare jewels versus something like adorned, as well as time lost jewels in the current state of the game, or 0.5 rather?
Limit 1 jewels are definitely very strong.
Well, the crafting for jewels was mostly that, like, the rationale behind adding that was ultimately, okay, like when you finish like a full sanctum, you end up with just like 45 jewels in your inventory if you take all the jewel chests, and you're like, okay, like 4 of them are okay, I guess. And it's just extreme item saturation just to get the good ones. And it's like, well, we're missing crafting here, really, right? We need something here to help guide it to be that they're okay, especially given that the jewel sockets are on kind of core pathways. You get them and then you're like, I don't even have anything to put in this for like a while. So at least now, and obviously you get some of these in the Act 4 in the campaign, you'll be able to, craft something that at least has 1 or maybe 2 useful stats for your character. If it had 1 by default and you add 1 that's decent. So that's just a win for like your more broad player base of just interacting with base jewels as a base level. In terms of the actual jewel balance, well, yeah, you'd kind of just end up with get all the jewel slots. Like there's so many really good end game unique jewels, as well as just like what you can do with the top end power of jewels, that like you end up with that thing with a lot of passive trees, just like I need to get every jewel slot, and then you end up with these kind of really shitty looking builds, honestly, where they're just not even taking anything, and it's like, what's the cheapest stuff I can take along the way? But otherwise it's just jewel slot.
I really don't like builds like that.
Some problems here.
Not to say they aren't strong, but I don't like that builds.
I kind of in one end, I'm like, well,
I don't like that is the way it's the method. Like when it comes to voices on PoE 1, I can appreciate it without saying, yeah, I don't like this being, oh, this is the best way to play this this skill or whatever, to just ignore everything on the tree and go for as many jewel sockets as possible. And a big example of this is Herald of Agony, because Herald of Agony really loves virulence, but the only source of virulence is medium cluster jewels. So what do? You go adorned, you go as many cluster jewels as you can, and then you fill those cluster jewels with medium clusters, or those voices with medium clusters rather, so that then all you're doing is putting in getting as many virulence spots as possible to scale your damage. And all of a sudden you don't really care as much, for your tree just exists to be on the edge, and if there's even any amount of pathing within that is needed, you're not touching it. Like you're just straight up not touching it. I just did a revive, and they were definitely not within my AOE, but they still all got revealed. So that's kind of cool.
Can be a very satisfying, advanced, and honestly complex crafting system that a lot of people probably like to overall engage with, where their more traditional build ends up looking like this crazy jewel fest. On the other hand, it's got the problem where, you know, every character kind of devolves into looking like a very similar thing. You know, I'm trying to think whether or not I ultimately enjoy it or not as a player. Probably less so. Like, I probably think it's ultimately in not a good spot.
I am not a fan of it as a
Like I would
player.
say if I had to not, I would, you know, I don't like the idea that ultimately 95% of the passives on the tree don't matter at all, even though some of them don't matter anyway. You know, something we need to fix, but I don't like that it just ends up being that. But I do like the, like, I want to chase all the really chase unique jewels. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of like a bit, you know, hit and miss on it ultimately. I don't know. I'm curious what, like, you know, a lot more people think about this kind of level of meta and itemization. Because, like, you know, I see a lot of stuff that's quite.
The only part about it that I personally would like
or like
is the
keep
simple
these
fact
unique
that I
jewels,
get to
but not the
choose
rarest,
the
and then
modifiers I
multi-time
engage
jewels
with.
are a whole different level of complexity. But yeah, I mean, ultimately going back to the original point here is we wanted to create a thing that's just improves the experience from the average player who's just engaging with a few jewel sockets, more than, you know, thinking about what it does for the end game, you know, the end of the end game, I should say, kind of situation with character builds and itemization. So, because it buffs that as well. It's obviously just an upgrade for them regardless. Which is maybe not a good thing, but I think it's one of those things where that's a thing of, like, do you think about every consequence? And it's like, well, kind of, but this is a good enough improvement for you know, regular players, such that, you know, it was worth doing, and we weren't caught up too much on the consequences of what it means for later. But I would expect more changes later, much later, of course, like some point later, to around this kind of dual meta. But I am also very curious to see what you know, what everyone actually thinks about this. Like, do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you
Not a fan personally.
you know, do you like?
But that's
I guess
me.
the bigger question is, do you like that a lot of characters just end up wanting to as many jewel slots as possible and wanting to just have jewels everywhere? Because once you can craft, it's effectively a way of saying your passive tree goes from what we've said it is to what you want it to be based
Yeah,
on
exactly. That's what I said earlier. Like, I kind of like that, but I really don't like that's
sounds like
the
a good
pathing.
pitch in isolation. But then when you play it, you kind of have this problem of, like, I can't play my build until I've earned some large amount of money and done all this, which again could be good as well, where it's like the builds at the start of the league, the builds in the middle of the league, and the builds at the end of the league aren't the same thing, because we had to let the, you know, because enough jewels had to be found and or created in order to create that many characters. So I don't know. There's wins and losses to this, and I'm on the fence, honestly.
Okay. Well, we can move on to the miscellaneous portion here. We're at over just about 2 hours. I know we're trying to keep it shorter, so we'll do the miscellaneous
This
portion.
is trying to keep it shorter.
And we have, like, just a few handful of patch notes related questions, and then we can kind of wrap up. So, to start for the miscellaneous portion, what's going on with Toda? Like, where's Toda currently at?
Well, we don't have it. But yeah,
07.
I was really hoping that we would be able to get that the final ascendancy trial when we did Act 4. We couldn't quite make it. We didn't have the time. We obviously couldn't fit it into this cycle in 050. So the question is whether or not, I suppose, whether it comes in 1.0. I think that's looking unlikely.
Kinda does, right?
Like, I don't think it's as important as some other things. But we'll see.
Jonathan?
It's kind of come down to whether or not we can somehow make what that does sort of merge with something else, I suspect. If there's quite a lot of work.
What we've been trying to do is, talking about the merging, is similar to how Runes of Elder is a kind of like expedition Kalguran thing. Yeah, to be whether or not, like, it's like kind of like, are we able to create a kind of Karui League that links into Tota somehow, and thus we get to double dip on the content.
Exactly. So if we're able to make a Karui themed league, then that will mean that we can effectively share some of the monster workload and like boss workload across both, which would then make it more viable to do alongside
Rip
some of the other
Tota.
content. And with Runes of Elder, we got to effectively do an expedition upgrade at the same time as what we were doing as doing a league, and so that kind of like really helped with that. Like, and part of the reason we did that for this one is because we had so much other stuff going on with the other leagues as well that we figured making the core league be integrated somewhat with one of the leagues we're upgrading. Would
I
help
was
very well.
expecting Tota to come this league, if I'm being honest,
we
with
might be able to
all the
squeeze Tota if
reveals.
we were able to, do
But I was kind of
similar-
hoping we'd have it for
similar
1.0,
league
like you
that.
said.
But otherwise, it'll probably have.
Kind of
to,
hoping.
if we can't do that,
Is
then
what
we'll
it
have to
is.
wait for like a 1.1 or 1.2 kind of situation. Yeah.
It's quite interesting when we look at Tota, because when we made it for PoE 1, we were obviously still developing PoE 2, and we were like, oh, this will be cool to kind of be able to then use there later, and like, and then now the quality bar has risen so much that when we then look at Tota in the context of PoE 2, like we thought all of the animations, the models, the art, the combat, everything, we'd be able to just like, we can just copy paste it, it'll be fine. And now when you go look at all those
Like,
monsters and like just how long it's been and how much we've stepped up our game with stuff, it's like these don't hold up at all. Like we have to, and so we.
I mean, that I can get. It's disappointing, but I can get.
Transplant from one to the other and like do some, some polish, some touch ups. And now it's like, okay, we have to like effectively reanimate all of these. We have to, and so it's a ton. You've got the multiple monsters of each tribe. You had the 10 chieftains, and let alone all the story moments and advancements we've done there. It's like this is a shit ton of work. Where it's like, I mean, it's the monster work of. It's probably like 75% of an act. Levels of equivalency of actual monster work.
Holy.
Like quite a lot. Obviously, an act, a lot of it is the unification of the environment, the monsters, the narrative, etc. Whereas, like, obviously, the part that is easier for Tota is it ultimately takes place in one arena with one back room, and thus it's faster to ultimately make. But in terms of just raw animation work, raw effects work for all the different skills. All the like scripting on the game design side, it is a ton of work, and so it's just been again.
Rip Tota.
Like, okay, is Tota being missing or the end game not having goals? Well, obviously the end game, and so when
I mean, and like I said,
what is the most important?
I'm very fine with it not coming in 0.5.
Given like it would be different if it didn't require.
I was just hoping it would be there for 1.0
alongside one of these things, but it just somehow is not held up at all. And yeah, so if it weren't for just straight up being too much work, it would be there already. Like, it just is an insane amount of actual work to do that is going to cost some pretty important stuff.
I appreciate the answer.
That makes sense.
Tota is just a personal favorite of mine because that was the league I joined, PoE, actually. It's my first league ever with Tota. So
Mine was Sanctum League.
Well, I was just going to move on since we're kind of over the.
And if I could trade Trials of Sekima for Tota, I would in a heartbeat.
I have a twofold question. I'm going to start with the first half of it, which is more about the design philosophy of unique items in PoE 2. PoE 1 has their version, and PoE 2 seems to be more build-defining options in terms of the unique items. So just a little short tidbit on what's the philosophy differences here? What's the focus?
Well, this changed a lot in recent time. By relatively recent, I mean the last couple of years, because we had a bunch of uniques. We honestly believed at the start that we would be able to just take a bunch of PoE 1 uniques, modify them slightly, and put them in PoE 2, and that just completely 100% is not a thing we can do. Like, it's interesting because the combat systems in PoE 2, working the way they are, had a way larger.
You know something I will say?
More unique than what we kind of.
One thing I will also add to this interview is I'm really appreciating their honesty in like expectation versus reality in the development of PoE 2. Because keep in mind, these are the same people who have made PoE 1. And it's very easy to think, oh, it shouldn't take an amount of work that it does. So if even the developers have it very easy to like underestimate the amount of work that certain things can take, as just the consumers who are just, playing the game and whatnot, it kind of puts in perspective just how cooked it is to say, oh, it's just this, or oh, it's just that. Like, and the example I'm going to use are the sword Koopas, you know, the people who are saying, oh, they should have put swords, it's just swords, you know, they've been teasing it for how long, it's been there, it's been this, the animations are almost done, yada yada yada. It's like, we don't actually know how much work it is, but I can only imagine how much work it is if the people who are making the game are like, yeah, it didn't make it, it was that this and we did just didn't make it. Like, if like I know it's a lot of work, but like I'm coming to terms with the fact that it might be even more work than the a lot of work I thought it was, which is a lot, you know, because at the end of the day, as it's becoming even more work because of all the extra effects that they are adding to the game, where, oh, this ascendancy has this one niche thing that turns all gloves to this, so now for every glove you design, you know, it has to have that equivalent, you know, and just typically stuff like that as well. So as the game grows in size and more effects are added, I suspect it's also going to just become even bigger, which also leads me to the worry I mentioned on Saturday, where I don't know if this is the most sustainable approach to design, where it's just having the very niche things that make developing a whole lot more complicated. But we'll see how it goes. I choose to trust GG. We'll see how it goes, you know.
Expected, and it's honestly surprising because like you'd still think, oh yeah, why can we not, like, how is it not that there's just like 50 PoE 1 uniques we could just literally take and just put in PoE 2 if we wanted to, and then you go through each one and you're like, okay, well this one can't be for that reason, this one can't be for that reason, like the dominant stat would just totally have to change. Like it's weird how it sort of ended up that way. And so even also when we did add a pile of uniques in I can't remember what patch it was like after 0.1. There was like a patch where we added a bunch of uniques, and those uniques, which were kind of like more on the PoE 1 design scale, have not really held up either. And honestly, we're gonna have to go back and probably like remove and or change a bunch of those as well. Like, and this is like the sort of issue that we have in the kind of the sort of mid campaign kind of like, you know, like those uniques. They're just like really not holding up. And yeah, it's just funny how we just no longer have the ability. Like you kind of it feels like we've kind of got to have a skill or something on a PoE 2 unique in order to make it sort of somewhat worthwhile. So yeah, like I don't know I could even necessarily say exactly what it is particularly that's caused it to be that way, but for whatever reason, like when I look at a, you know, like a PO1 style designed unique at this point, it just does not rise to the level that we feel like you'd actually use it. And so yeah, I do wonder if one reason can be that I sort of suspect it's got something to do with the fact that in PoE 1 build you tend to just optimize one skill and that's all you're doing. And so then, like in PoE 2 context, we've got to care about more about that, like the larger build. Like there's a lot more going on with with a PoE 2 build. At least that's the intention. So I sort of have this feeling it's got something to do with that, but I don't know if I can necessarily promote exactly why it is that we do feel like, yeah, a unique has to be just a significant amount more going on.
Well, that's fair. The follow. Sorry, go ahead.
I do got a thing there because like what we're making now, like a lot of what we've been showing with 050, like a lot of the stuff you've seen recently, this is kind of, this age of uniques is probably, it's not something we've done before really. Like all the uniques we're making are definitely the most expensive in terms of development costs that we've ever made. And as a result, they are more build defining. Now on the other end of the spectrum, you do have then the uniques that they kind of have their single special stat. It's kind of like 4 stats, one of them's a bit special, and it probably just has some sort of end game when combined with 6 other variables as a thing. And the problem with those is that they don't hit for like, most people when they get them, they're like, what the hell, why would I want that? And they just end up being these really like hyper niche end game things. So
those are the kind of uniques I end up using a lot.
They're effectively meant to be the puzzle piece, right? And you need multiple puzzle pieces in order to do the thing. Those uniques are generally failing when you find them, like generally speaking. And Jonathan did this exercise with me yesterday. We opened up that same character when we were looking at saying, he showed me every unique. We went through all of them and he just goes like, and he was like, why would I want this? Why would I need this? And I was explaining the like end game build used with them. And he's like, well, how the hell, like, okay. But then it drops at level 23, you know, it's like, and so there is a problem with that. And so our new philosophy has just been like, let's try and make these way more fulfill a fantasy, because that's my biggest thing. Is just I want you to feel like, you know, and that you saw that with the grenade launcher thing, where it's just like, I just want you to just be a freaking grenade man, like just run around spamming grenades. Come on,
The grenade
right?
man.
And then like the face breaker thing, obviously recently is pretty cool. You had the like the Raven and more summoner like delirium things. It's like, what if you were like Tang Mizu himself? Like you had his powers. Like that's a cool fantasy where you can like create mirrors and illusory things and like bend reality, and like that's a cool fantasy to me. You know, so some can be more.
So if we're Tang Mizu, can we torment him like he has done all these years in PoE 1?
Way cooler things, like way cooler. Also,
Can we finally get our revenge?
To make.
I'm not just killing him, because killing him is the boring part. Can we just torment him?
Now, so I think we've now got the puzzle piece side. We understand what that looks like. We understand what the other end, which is the more expensive fantasy fulfilling build defining thing, looks like. What we don't have is the middle ground where there's that kind of not as expensive to develop, but pretty impactful, just not like ultra impactful ground that we still need to do as well. And I think once we've figured that out and we've got our understanding of all three, now you are going to see generally that middle ground and higher ground. You're probably not going to see as much of those original set, and we're going to have to go back and honestly raise the bar on all of those, or a lot of those.
But wait, if this is their new,
they are getting upgrades to some extent.
wait, so if this is their new philosophy when it comes to unique items, doesn't that just as a consequence mean we're going to be getting less unique items? This is not me saying I want less unique items, or I want more unique items. I'm just curious if that will be a consequence, and if we do end up getting less unique items, does that mean the number of new builds we get in the league are just, you know, low as it, because now, you know, we're getting less wild card uniques that they just throw it out there and eventually somebody figures out how to use it, right? Versus now, if everything has a fantasy, then unless something fulfills the fantasy you're going for, you're probably not using it. You know, I'm assuming they're still going to make a bit of both types of uniques and all that, so it's not like it's going to be, oh, this is all they're doing from now on. But I'd be curious about that, you know,
due to the Calgar and like unique upgrading things, so that has helped. But there's still some of them that are a bit unsalvageable that we just need to do something with.
And by the way, there are unsalvageable uniques in PoE 1 as well, right? It's just that there are 1,500 of them or some number, you know, and so they kind of get lost in the weeds, as opposed to right now, the I would say, you know, there's a mid ground of them where they honestly, you get it and you're like, I don't know why, I don't need it, you know. So there's, to me, so I think what we've now made is like, a lot of what we've made is so epic. I really love them. And like, you know, even talking about them and doing the videos, and there's so many more that haven't been, you know, talked about or found yet, which is awesome. That just keep going, and some secrets, and, you know, the barracks and all of that coming in. So once we get, like, now that we've got that rhythm and we're working that, we're just going to get more and more efficient with it. But
it sounded like you said barracks, but also it sounded like you said barracks, like barracks respites.
Maybe our number one problem in the game. Like after 050 comes out, now that if Endgame's in a good spot, now that we've sorted that and we have a good progression, we've got goals. My personal number one fault with what we haven't got doing well, especially because of our reputation, is that I think that our thing that we need to step up and do the better at, that we currently have done very poorly, is our unique items. Like I straight up think that we were meant to be the like weird epic in terms of ARPGs, like we're real good at items and itemization and uniques and crafting systems, and like I do believe that we generally are, and I don't think PoE 2 is an accurate reflection of what our capability should be. And so now that we're delivering like real cool shit, I just want to go and just fix up all of them. And so that's another one of these like 055 but 050 and between 1.0, I want to be like, nah, we have to save the uniques. Like that's a goal I have. Now, obviously, different people have different levels of understanding of what's important to the game or the most important to the game. But like, I would be shocked if that's not on like most people's top 3, top 5 list of like things that are the most wrong with the game currently.
When you drop the unique item, all you think is, oh, chance shard.
There's a lot of really bad, and we can't have that. And I think the biggest thing, like to give a more specific example, you know, on my big rant, a lot of our uniques are level 1 to 30, right? Level 1 to 30-ish, and a lot of them are the puzzle piece. Some are good, some are not good, some are whatever, hit and miss. And we've got this like now end game band that we've added, and we've added a bunch to the new pinnacles. We've got a bunch of things you can farm for the different leagues. What we don't have now, and I think this is a huge problem, is between level 30 and 60, there's kind of just nothing. There's kind of, honestly, it's like barely any start to drop. And I don't mean the level requirements, I mean when it can drop.
And the annoying thing about that as well is that often, like when you're in that band, the things you're getting are the ones that are like level 1 to 30.
Yeah.
And so then what you end up feeling is like you get these and they just feel like they suck, because like if you'd put them on at level 20, they would have been fine. But you're putting them on at level 40 and it's kind of like, well, this is just garbage.
Yeah. Because of how our uniques work, our unique drops work, where it's like, first I'm going to decide if I'm dropping a unique, then I'll figure out what the unique is. It's like, I'm going to drop a unique. And then it's like, okay, let me go and find one. And it just so happens that every unique lower than that level is between 1 and 30. It means pretty much any unique drop between level 40 and 60 is just going to be bad. Like, a niche cases aside, like some jewelry in some cases, but like that is a big problem where pretty much every unique you find in the current mid game, and thus ones leading into endgame, you have very few ones that allow you, like, get you set up for endgame. Like there are some, again, there is a few, but like it's nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near, not even in the right, you know, we're like 20% of the way to good enough there. So, you know, I don't often talk about what I consider to be, you know, because generally when we're talking, we're obviously talking about, you know, what's new, what's happening, but we don't really get to talk about what's like just fundamentally wrong. And I'm trying to be a little bit more transparent about some of that stuff, because that is the stuff we're aiming to fix and address and really try and salvage and save and get perfect between 050 and 1.0.
So yeah, we're hoping to fix that in one of the kind of economy resets that we'll do between 050 and 1.0. Is just like add a shit ton of mid-game uniques.
Okay.
On the topic of fixing things, my follow-up questions that I really was curious about this. I do first want to say that I'm a big fan of the Kalguran upping your uniques. This is the first time since PoE, 10, 12 years ago, I think, since I'm actually considering using Shober Chabber on a build. So, I mean, that's just because of the Kalguran upping. So that's funny. But my question is, regarding these build-defining uniques that you're adding, they're supposed to be interesting and impactful, giving you a skill, and people make builds around them, like the Grenade Man, for instance, a prime example. A problem that I've seen being discussed a lot in the community has been that your main skill is supposed to have maximum sockets. It's a quote-unquote 6 sockets, but it's actually only 5 sockets, right, in PoE 2, but maximum sockets. And that is gated behind a level 20 version of the skill, which means it's going to cost more if the item is popular in the market. It's going to be rarer to find. It has a higher level requirement to drop and all those aspects. But there's already a power scaling difference between having a lower level skill of the skill itself and having a level 20 version in terms of what the benefits are. But the socket difference is so massive. So I was just curious if this is something you haven't thought of, or if it is a design you're happy with.
What exactly is the question? Because this is not for ascendancy skills that take level 90 to that's not the question. It is, oh god, that wasn't the question though. So I'm trying to understand the question, and it sounds like I'm gonna have to take it back because
but the socket difference is so 20, a power scaling difference between having a lower level skill of the skill itself, and there's already a power scale.
What does the items level have to do with the sockets? You just use jeweler orbs, and you can jeweler orb a level 1 skill. Or is he talking about, wait, is he talking about the tiers, like when you unlock it or something?
Scaling difference, which means it's going to cost more if the item is popular in sockets, right? In PoE 2, with maximum sockets. And that is gated behind a level 20 version of the skill, which means it's going to cost more if the item is popular in the market. It's going to be rarer to find. It has a higher level requirement to drop and all those aspects. But there's already a power scaling difference between having a lower level skill of the skill itself and having a level 20 version in terms of what the benefits are. But the socket difference is so massive. So I was just curious if this is something you haven't thought of, or if it is a design you're happy with moving forward. That the
I still don't understand the question, if I'm being honest.
Versions.
We've discussed this many times, just FYI, like it's come up, sorry, came up a lot. But I think for 050, and I'm hoping this gets done in time, and if not, it'll be shortly after. I was adding, like, as a kind of, like, in an ideal world, you'd just be able to either, well, at least you'd be able to just like, okay, why not just allow using a perfect jeweler's orb on it, for example, and then just.
I was literally about to say that. Why can you not just jeweler's units?
But for now, you can't currently, but that will be the goal. But for
Is he talking about the items specifically from, you know, items? Because, like, that's the only thing that makes sense. The sockets coming from items. And I think for those ones in particular, you can't actually 6-link it unless it's a level 20 of this skill or something, and that requires a certain high level of the unique, which is hard to get, or something along those lines. And I have to assume that's what he's asking. What I think he's asking, at least.
For example,
because like this summary here, I'm just seeing explains the question. Yeah, it's specifically on uniques, but I don't think I heard him talk about specifically unique. So that's what threw me off.
and then just
I was literally about to say that. Why can you not just jeweler's units?
But for now, you can't currently, but that will be the goal. But for
Okay,
now,
so they are working on fixing that. That's good. Okay.
I think just time constraints, but I mean, feel free to look into it yourself. But
I mean, like, is it really that hard to implement that?
I don't know.
I have no idea how it works in terms of the way the storage is, but there should be.
Well,
a way.
exactly. I have absolutely no idea, so we can find that out. But
this is
We might be able to just do that, honestly. Like, it might just be possible.
Being that, if that doesn't work, because that is the ideal solution, at the very least, I was going to get a temporary, just like recipe thing added where you can get a level 19 item, a level 20 uncut skill, and a perfect jeweler's orb, and then level 20 and 6-link the item as a thing that we were just going to enable. That is
just doing the perfect jeweler thing. I feel like that would be. Surely we can make that happen. I don't know.
Well, follow up on that if you want. I have.
Yep.
Either way, multiple solutions. We will hopefully get one of them in time.
All right. Well, one last question, and then we're going to cut out the patch notes related and some of the other ones here, since we're kind of at the edge of the time. If you want, we can do just a couple rapid fires from chat, and then we can call it there. Sound good?
Sure.
Okay. So I want to follow up on something that Ziggy D asked. Very selfishly of me, admittedly. I'm playing the Spear Walker. I think it's the funnest looking thing, like, in the entire review that I saw. And it was about Tame Beast. And he mentioned that Tame Beast is like a level 9 cut gem. However, you can ascend and take the node that lets you capture beasts way before you can actually get to the cut gem. And you mentioned you might have a solution to this because it's a little bit of a noob trap, right? You take a node that you literally can't even use for like 10 levels or something. So I was wondering, when I saw the patch notes, it still said the gem starts at level 9. So I'm curious, do we have a solution for this coming to 0.5?
I thought we were going to just change it. I thought we were going to change it so that the
Didn't the patch notes say it was like level 7 or something?
Lower level. I thought we were going to make it so that Tame Beast was just a lower level skill, but that's what the last I heard about it.
Certainly, the last discussion I had was that we were going to move it down to a lower level skill tier. So it could be the patch note was wrong. It could be something caused that to not happen. But that was definitely both Jonathan and I's understanding of the last of that conversation. So, but yes, we don't want that to be a problem. We will do something about it.
James just messaged me that Tame Beast is level 7 now. Patch notes missed it for some reason.
Perfect.
So he just messaged me that as we're talking. So that is the answer to that. So all good.
Nice.
Well, unless Ghazi got a last question for him before we start the rapid fire and wrap it up here.
I was just wanted to have some sort of curiosity into your minds with basically the progression of what's going to happen between 0.5 and 1.0. We don't have to go too deep into it, but I'm curious because you, Mark, mentioned something that I keep referencing, and that is the plugging the holes. And I love that. I don't know why I love that comment, but plugging the holes and getting balance fixes and changes between 0.5 and 1.0. So my question, just to keep it short, is what are the things you want to prioritize in the updates between now and end of the year during this time frame?
So unique items, as Mark said, very big one. Like a lot of skill balance, a lot of just like character balance. Adding some skills to existing classes where necessary, and or changing functionality of how they work for just like where we're going back and just making sure that everything that we already released in the in 010 is like in a better place, like just like all of that sort of stuff, like that's big. Passive tree reworks, just like improvements there is like another big one. And I mean, I guess that's probably the main stuff, really. Like, yeah, I think, and then
it's a lot of the other chaos damage, getting that to be better, and thus acolyte,
right.
Ignite builds, burn, damage over time in general.
Right.
Just all these things that we've been, and honestly, it's come up in a few expansions, and it's just like, well, we just haven't got there yet, and as I said, the passive tree, the base types, the bloody hope, the general. More replayability improvements certainly would also be good if there's any new one. Like, I've been really nice after people play through this and get a feel for it. It's obviously identify the new evils. What's bad, what's annoying. Like, now that people are going to be replaying through Act 4 for the third time,
that's 100% a thing, right? So, like, is that like Act 4? Didn't get a huge amount of changes in this patch, and I suspect part of the reason for that is because we haven't had the time. Like, there hasn't been a like resurgence of people saying I hate things in Act 4 because people haven't necessarily replayed it that much. So like I'm sure there'll be things in Act 4 that after this patch people will be like, oh, this is the horrible thing in Act 4 that I don't like. So we'll see. We'll just have to see what that is at that point.
I'm not sure if they'll come sooner or later, but I'd like to do sooner. I'd like to, when we have our like next economy reset between, that we have either the third ranger or the third druid ascendancies come in. Like, it'd be nice for all existing classes to have all ascendancies before the full release. What else? It's just the things, because they're just missing, right? It's just clearly like, okay, they're just missing the class. So as much of that as possible would be really, really ideal. And yeah, I don't see much else. I'm sure there is.
Just wanted to verify. You said that economy resets. That just to verify that I heard you right. There will be economy resets leagues.
There will be economy resets. So there'll be effectively like there will be leagues. It's just that they're not going to be like. They're not going to be the same as what a proper, like it's not going to be an 060, what an 060 would be. And the reason why we say that is because we don't want to set the wrong expectation, and like it's not going to be like the giant mega content release in that way. Now there will be content, right? Because we're talking about adding uniques and skills and all that stuff, but it's not going to be quite the same. I think, like I wouldn't expect necessarily to be like like the big. On the other hand, we're generally pretty good at taking little and turning it into a lot. So I guess we'll see what we end up with there. But I mean, the thing we've referenced before is like Legacy of Phyrexia type of stuff, right? Where you just take some existing stuff, you jumble it around, you like come up with a few things like.
Wait, how did he pronounce it?
Phyrexia type of stuff, right? We end up with there. But I mean, the thing we've referenced before is like Legacy of Phyrexia type of stuff, right?
Legacy of Phyrexia, which is what everybody else calls Frisia, by the way. Ah, interesting.
Just take some existing stuff, you jumble it around, you like come up with a few things like, hell, maybe you freaking add an Atlas Master or do the jumble and Atlas Master stuff like Mark was saying earlier, like as
interesting.
Just little stuff like that you can do that doesn't take too long to make it sort of worth playing again. But really the main reason we want people to be playing again is so that they can test all the new balance and changes to kind of core systems that we're changing.
Whatever the league end up will be something that has the least amount of impact on the team doing the balance, right? So as long as we're not using their time to then not solve the things they need to solve, that will be a big thing. But just things that are hard to even think about. If there is an economy reset, well, then we have to look at Runes of Elder, how it succeeded, how it failed, and integrate it into core. If it's fully successful, add an Atlas passive tree for it, all of that stuff. So all of that will be happening around the same time, and then we'll have our now here's what our minus the 1.0 league. It's like here's what our in game is and what our in game looks like. And so we'll just
Which is the other thing, right? Because who knows what random in-game changes we might then find we need after this is released, and then we have to make it. We have to presumably any patch we do is going to involve improving that, whatever problems might end up being. Like it's just stuff like that we're going to have to do.
I had one quick follow-up to weave into this last question. So I'm going to keep it real short. You guys have done an excellent job in the past track record history of shaking up the meta with character balance changes on a consistent basis, where people are not just playing the new content, but we're playing the game in a different way very often from league to league to league. So the question then goes to the changes coming from 0.5 or between 0.5 and 1.0. Will they also include character power balance and meta shakeups?
Lots. Okay. That's one of the big focuses.
It's like two-thirds of what it will contain is that.
Nice.
That's the goal, right? It is 90% of the goal is, and because uniques are ultimately about this, is just how characters are built. Well, no, let's say 80%, whereas 20% is like improving the content more. So most of it is going to be more oriented around character builds, character powers, etc. But and even to the degree of like, okay, there are some skills that don't feel good to use. There are some, so it's not just power, it's also how these things feel to play. Are they rewarding to play? When I do A, B, C, D and do my combo piece, does it land or is it just like meh? So going back and revisiting even some of the effects and some of the audio, and obviously the numbers, like whatever we can do to really just go and say everything we've now, or maybe it's like, there's an A and a B, but we need the C, you need the finale piece to it. And so we go and add that. So you have new skills, modified skills, changed both aesthetically, cosmetically, and in balance, potential new classes, a whole bunch of new uniques, I'm hoping, with a bunch of uniques being rebalanced, like all of this stuff across the board. Now, normally, when we have a big reveal, we don't talk about all this stuff because we like everything to be new, but like it's pretty easy to talk about all the things that we need to make better, and so that's really what we're going to do, and we'll just hopefully be able to get through it all. But how these things go, we don't stop development, so even though full release occurs, we're going to still then balance in 1.1 and 1.2 and 1.3, and it's just never going to end. So if we don't get 100% right, we'll just keep going.
All right, so we're going to do a couple rapid fires here.
Lost TM's audio there.
Oh, how about now? Am I back? We good?
There we go.
All right. Yeah, sorry about that. Good. I was typing in the chat to tell them to put their questions together, and I hit the mute button. Okay, so we're going to do rapid fire from the chat here, and then we're going to call it a day. So first one here, is there anything added to the game you guys would consider to be like aspirational content? Basically, they're saying extremely difficult content coming to the game, like Ubers, etc.
Look, everyone has their own definition of this, I assume, to some degree, right?
Sure.
Some people are just going to find the farmed pinnacles to be that. In terms of Ubers, we've specifically made sure to not. So you obviously you have your quest version, your non-quest version. I didn't want a then Uber grade of that, and the reason is that, not to say it won't eventually happen, is that it puts a bit of a difficult skew on what is considered an acceptable character at a fundamental level.
Wait, what was the question?
Your non-quest version.
Sure.
Some people are just going to find the farmed pinnacles.
You guys would consider to be like. So first one here, is there anything added to the game you guys would consider to be like aspirational content? Basically, they're saying extremely difficult content coming to the game, like Ubers, etc.
Look, everyone has their own definition of this, I assume, to some degree, right?
Sure.
Some people are just going to find the farmed pinnacles to be that. In terms of Ubers, we've specifically made sure to not. So you obviously you have your quest version, your non-quest version. I didn't want a then Uber grade of that, and the reason is that, not to say it won't eventually happen, is that it puts a bit of a difficult skew on what is considered an acceptable character at a fundamental level, because now they have to be able to do the hardest content in order to be good. And with so much incomplete character balance and stuff we still need to work on and fill the gaps and everything, I wanted to make sure there wasn't just stuff that is like for the, you know, the most OP of the OP of the OP builds, because it was, and this is something that it already was doing, where all of a sudden the viability of a character was being judged by some people against whether or not it can kill a pinnacle, some whether it can complete maps of certain tiers, and somewhere it can kill the Ubers, and it creates a bit of a difficult thing where it's like, what is considered acceptable? And so the new pinnacles are hard, like for sure. You know, all the fights are pretty damn difficult. And as I said, you can generally juice these things and do like there are ways via the Atlas Masters to take them to slightly next levels. There are things with the different leagues, with the different league trees to both add rewards and make them harder in the form of multi-choices. And so there are ways to do it, but they wouldn't say they're classically defined as Ubers anymore. I wanted to get away from that. We'll get everything stable, we'll get everything good, and then we'll look at re-adding some of that stuff back. Be it either via an actual Uber fight or be it via, you know, a master or something like that. We'll see.
Quick question about Recombinator was moved out of the game, so we're kind of curious about what's going on with that.
Yeah,
just kind of didn't like it, to be honest. Like it's always been in this annoying balance position where like the numbers that it has to be like to not be completely cracked and broken never been satisfying for the players, and we've never been able to somehow like get that right. So we just decided, you know what, screw it for now. We'll see. We might revisit that again later if we can find some way to change it in some way. But yeah,
I think all the new runes we added, all of the runic ward, it's just so much better. It's so much more understandable, so much more broadly usable. Like not insanely overcomplicated. They're just better. So we were like, look, it had recombinating, it just doesn't need it. Like, here's all the stuff.
So those runes of Ardor, can you use? I don't know that I know that we've gotten the answer to this, but I wonder if we can use it to craft already existing items. Like, can we take runes of Ardor and say, okay, now we're going to use this. We find something in our maps. Can we put an item that already exists and use that to further craft it? Or is it this league mechanic prints bases based on the option we select, and we're just getting bases from it? Because, you know, I don't know that we've gotten and we actually know that yet. Does that make sense?
That we can do that is clearly better. I mean, at first we kept it because there's like a little bit of a loss aversion thing, but it's like, okay, look, we're at like, do we really need it at this point? So ultimately we just decided to axe it, noting that like everything we're adding in its stead is just significant upgrades IMO.
Okay. I'm assuming similar logic with like the expedition shops. They're still in the game, but they're kind of like not the primary focus.
They're gone.
The
Expedition shops are dead.
They're gone as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
they were basically just taken from PoE 1, and like they never really were proper stuff, and
well,
yeah, we just
it was taken and then downgraded, and then kind of like, oh, we don't want it to be. They were just not good. So again, it was like we're like, let's get rid of the stuff that's just clearly subpar and replace it with stuff that's just clearly better. Like, we don't have to be so attached to it, and you know.
Sure. Okay. On to the next one here from chat. Corruption. So you guys made like a fairly significant change, actually, the corruption, where instead of it like randomizing it, it's like a multiplier, right? So you want to divine it first before you corruption. Would you like to speak to that change, though?
Well, that is what we did. Yes.
It's a divine sync.
I guess ultimately liked the idea that when you get I mean, I agree. I understand why some people are going to be like, no, I have to use divines now. Well, yep, that's what you got to do, right? You got to make it much more, a bit of a harder decision to decide, am I going to divine this item to be its perfect role and then do it, or am I not? And I guess, I don't know, I just prefer it more. It's a bit more hardcore. It's a bit more Val. It's a bit more, you know, costly. And generally speaking, I'm a fan of that, as opposed to just every time I find this, I just Val it no matter what. Which, you know, I just think it's personally better, but I can see people not entirely agreeing with that, and you're right to that opinion, and too bad, I guess, is my answer, but I just 100% prefer it, and I'd say most of the people we spoke to definitely preferred it as
Yeah,
well.
I've seen it overwhelmingly liked. I haven't really seen almost anybody saying they don't like
well,
it.
in that case,
I mean,
then woo, win.
in previous
W divine
interviews we've
sync.
had, a conversation has been brought up multiple times. Has been inflation and wanting a divine sync, and every time the comment has been, "We need more uniques. We need more interesting uniques to divine orb." And I never really felt that it really did that job enough. And I think that with this change alone and continuously adding more uniques, you might actually hit the spot where this is doing exactly what we've been screaming for the past year.
Wait until we start screaming. There's too many divine sinks.
Was divine orbs that are now more common, which was one of the patch notes. I mean, small line, big decision. So is that there to balance out like the changes of the Atlas, unless Quan is really not that more common, or what's that line mean?
It's definitely more common, divine orbs. I'm almost tempted to not mention the reason why we did that, but I don't know how you feel about that, Mark. Sure. All right.
Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah. All right. So basically, okay. So this is gonna sound ultra dumb, I suspect, to some people. So we'll see how this goes. But okay. So the temple, right?
Okay.
The temple had ridiculous amounts of loot going on due to snake strategy and all that
we can all agree.
Right? So basically, there's this concern that we had that people are going to be like, okay, so the temple is obviously nerfed, right? Like snake strategy no longer a thing. Like, it means that like, and so then what we believed was going to happen is immediately people are going to be like, oh, previous league I got X divines per hour and now I'm getting Y divines per hour, and like just annoying shit like that. And so we're like, if we just change the drop rate of divines, nobody will be able to make the comparison anymore. And there won't be like this ability to say like,
that's
this thing about that. So
I have mixed feelings about this one.
I just want you to know, by the way, that the troll answer that we legitimately thought we might do for a second is, what if we just remove divines from the game? That was like a legitimate troll answer that we had as like the opposite of this. But instead of doing that, we're like, okay, no.
How much more common are we talking about?
It's not like they're dropping like candy or anything, right? But they are like, they're an amount more common that is like such that, that doesn't make them quite comparable anymore. And yeah, that's just down to the fact that divines, for whatever reason, are the thing that people use as the sort of way that comparing loot. So because the loot is kind of like there's a lot of changes all over the loot everywhere, you'll kind of, I guess it just makes the whole thing less comparable, and yeah, that is truly part of the reason why we did that. But yes, we do want to divine syncs as well, which is the battle.
How much more common are we talking about here? Because like, if we're comparing it to temple, my guy, that's a lot of divines. That is genuine a lot of divines if we're comparing it to temple. And I feel like in situations like these in the past, GG always took this stance of deal with it, with the poverty league incoming, like, because like it wasn't a very real expectation that I had already come to terms with, like, oh, poverty league, people were going to cry about it because they're used to temples and all that, and I just figured the market would balance around it, which is typically what happens. The market just says, okay, instead of costing 1,000 divines, now it costs 100 divines, but as a result, instead of making 100 divines per hour, you're making 10 divines an hour. So it's still 10 hours of work, but like the number is different. Like that is how the market would typically like balance out in situations like these. So I'm very curious that they went the route of, supplementing the divines we're used to. Because like on the one hand, more divines, more dopamine, yada yada, like cool. On the second hand, it is, well, last season everybody can agree with there were just too many divines, period. And the main people who complain about the divine comparison are people who, in the words of the devs, never stop playing the game, I guess, because they would literally go from today till tomorrow, like, because I remember dropping divines. I just don't remember thinking, oh, dropped 20 divines an hour or whatnot, because but that's an interesting reason That's an interesting reason. Like I said, mixed feelings. I don't know.
Follow-up thing, so you know.
All right, well, I'll do one more here, and we'll call it. We're at 2 hours and like
Yeah.
35 minutes here. So just a real common one that keeps popping up is people are just asking about performance improvements. Like with every league, you guys typically do quite a bit of performance improvements. Are we expecting that going in 0.5? I know you talked a little bit about Steam Deck, you know, for instance, but console, PC, all of it.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, look, there have been changes, but I wouldn't say that they're revolutionary to the point that I would call them out specifically as like we made big performance improvements. Like there's just the sort of usual iteration that we do. One of the big things that we've been really trying to fight has just been this annoying freaking driver device removed thing, which maybe people don't even know what that is, but like sometimes the game will freeze and then it reboots the graphic stuff and then it all comes back, like that thing. And like we haven't fixed it yet. We're still looking into it. It's just been like the engine team has been just banging their head against it for so long now. Like we're actually at the point now, by the way, where like Nvidia told us a couple of days ago, we want you to ship us, like air freight us a PC that reproduces this. Is like the thing. So now we're going to steal one of our PCs and send it to Nvidia to see if that will get the ability to work out what's going on. But like, yeah, there's been a lot of trying to sort out like this kind of stuff and like work on crashes and that kind of thing. So there's less like performance in the sense of like, you know, frame rate higher. But we still will be doing more about that and like the O5X patches and that kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, you know what I like? One last kind of random
Yeah.
question here, which I don't know if you have an answer for, but I'm going to try, okay? I know Hex Blast was the skill people were using before. It got changed at one point. It really hasn't hit a point in which it's really seen much use. I know it was beloved by some people out there. I know you might not have the answer off the top of your head, but could we see some love for Hex Blacks or Fix or Revert or anything at some point? Like, where's your stance on that skill?
I have not thought about that one for a while, I have to admit. So
Yeah.
it'd be one of those things that would look at an O5X timeline, I would say.
Sure.
Because yeah, it's just if it's not working and people aren't using it, then that'll be one of the things that we want to looking to buff, I suspect.
Okay, I'll just throw it out there. All right, well, that's it.
Chaos-
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the chaos hits and chaos dots just needs a whole bunch of love, and reviewing all the skills and the mechanics adjacent to it is just part of that. So, you know, there'll be some adding skills, some changing of roles, so like anything could happen really, but it is on the radar for sure.
Well, there we go. You know, I mean, we could go all day, but we're 2 hours and 40 minutes in, so I think we'll call it here, boys. I would say thanks for your time. You guys went really in depth on a lot of stuff, and I really enjoyed the conversation. So, you know, thanks for the opportunity and the answer, and for taking your Sunday. I know you guys are at home, so chat seemed to enjoy that one as well. So, thank you guys.
Excellent, thank you.
That was a really good interview.
And hope everyone enjoys the league. And what's it, 6 days now, or something? However long it is.
6 days.
It's 4 sleeps for us, or for me currently, right? 4. Yeah. We don't have to worry about Friday because we playing Friday night. We're not sleeping Friday night. But that was a good interview. I liked it. Pretty good insights into their thought process, and honestly, I really love the honesty in how certain things came about. You know, certain underestimations, all of these things. So it's very nice to know where they're at when it comes to these systems and the thought process behind them. I am curious how many of those economy resets we're going to get before December, because if we're going with the regular schedule, that would effectively mean that we are literally getting just one, I think, because we're currently in May. So that would be May. September would get one, and oh wait, okay, so I just got I got the boss fights, and seeing as I am streaming, I get to check what the icon of that looked like, because Arcane mentioned that it had an icon. I don't think I see anything off looking. Maybe I see something? I don't know. I do not know. I will take a screenshot of it and see if I can get it looking bigger. But I don't think that's happening. I think I kind of say it was purplish. Looks a bit different. Anywho, what was I saying about? I was saying overall, really enjoyed the honesty that came with the interview. It's very, very, very refreshing. I cannot complain. Really looking forward to it. Anyways, so for the rest of this stream, we're probably not going to be live for too long, but the next part of the stream involves going through PoE 2DB and all these other things, because I need to figure out, I need to put some specifics to my loose plan, because I plan on having what's it called? I plan on starting Spirit Walker. I know that much, but I also know there's a lot that I can't plan for, you know. So I need to figure out what I can plan for and plan for that. But let's just finish this map because this fight is going to take a while, I think. I think now it's gonna die. Clenched Spring, really? Isn't that what I dropped last time? That was kind of meh. Actually, no, this is one that was expensive. Yeah, 900. Cool. Okay, we'll put it up for 995. All right, PoE 2DB time. Ugh. Well, not just PoE 2DB, because we're also gonna need to pull up a Path of Exile video. Where is the Spirit Walker? Because I need to figure out what order. I think that's the first thing is figuring out what order that I'm taking my ascendancy points, because I haven't even figured that out. I know people theorize tame beasts, tame boss first. I'm leaning elsewhere. Which one is it? Oh, I also haven't seen these two videos. I just remembered. Let's watch them. I just realized I haven't actually watched them.
Remember, during Act 4, you were tricked into releasing an ancient entity from a Karui prison known as Tangmazu, the Raven Trickster. Tangmazu delights in breaking the minds of those who step through his mirrors, and when touching one, he will attempt to destroy your mind with twisted abominations generated from your worst fears. In Return of the Ancients, the first time you approach one of his
Man
delirium
is
encounters in
high
Endgame,
AF.
you will find Elder Maddox locked in a trance. His mind is trapped in one of Tangmazu's delusions, and you will need to free him. Once free, Elder Maddox demands that as you caused this problem, you should put it right. He asks you to travel west to the Withered Willow, the location he believes that Tangmazu first gained his powers. But be careful. As you travel
that's
there,
literally
the
a
Raven
tree.
Trickster will attempt to break your mind. Each map around the Withered Willow features delirium encounters. Now this is more than a simple quest upgrade. The mechanic of delirium has been overhauled and expanded. At
Okay.
the bottom of the screen, there is now a bar that indicates how deep into delirium you are. You can see which direction leads deeper by looking at the fog, and the deeper you go, the more challenges you will face. By looking at the bar, you can see how long you have until the delirium ends. And you can also see special encounters that you will face if you're able to go deep enough into the fog. At the end of the bar is always the boss of the map, but we now have a variety
It
of
really
other
doesn't
encounters
look
that you
like
might
this
find
is-
as you explore the horrors of your own mind.
Am I the only one that thinks this looks like it is going to be difficult to get here, or is it just that the expectation is that we're clearing faster than him? Because how on earth is, after killing all like this many monsters, is he just here? Like, huh?
For example, you might encounter a purple mirror shard that, when shattered, will cause all the enemies to become more nightmarish. After hitting this, you'll notice the delirium demons are enhanced, significantly more powerful, larger, and scarier in general, along with more rewards.
By the way, did that mirror literally change its appearance, or did he summon a new mirror?
After hitting this,
It's
you'll
a
notice the delirium demons are
It kind of merged or something.
significantly more powerful, larger, and
I love this code on his back. Anyway, so basically with Delirium now, we're just they're incentivizing us to just run and leave monsters, like, because we're not getting anything from killing them, we're just running. So is the expedition method to literally break the mirror and kill as few enemies as possible?
scarier in general, along with more rewards. Or should you encounter a red mirror shard, you'll be sent into the depths of your mind. And must escape it while fighting off hordes of your worst
Holy
fears.
Eater, mini Eater. That fucker.
If you are able to do so, you will gain a powerful amulet with 2 instilled notables on it.
Wait, that's
Once
it's
you
only
reach
just from
the
that
Withered
encounter?
Willow, Elder Maddox discovers that a shard of the mirror is missing. You will need to track down Tangmazu and restore it if you have a hope of discovering how to defeat him. And that means entering the Raven Trickster's mirrors in an attempt to locate him. Each area around the Withered Willow contains delirium encounters, so that's a good place to start. As you do deliriums, some of the special encounters will drop liquid emotions. Normally these emotions can be used to install amulets to add notable passive buffs to them, but in Return of the Ancients, emotions have a new function as well. Each one now has the ability to add crafted mods to
Do we still have to worry about running out of
jewels,
fog?
allowing you to add specific mods to an item slot that can be quite difficult to roll. For example, Liquid Despair will allow you to add critical hit chance, while Liquid Suffering will allow you to add movement speed or Air of Effect to your jewels. But there are many more. Once you've done enough delirium encounters, the location of a...
And it specifies what it does for each one, right? AoE, Sapphire, okay.
Liquid Suffering
Cool.
will allow you to add movement speed or Air of Effect to your jewels. But there are many more. Once you've done enough delirium encounters, the location of a grand mirror...
Imagine the effects that'll come from stuff like Paranoia, the most expensive ones. The Suffering and... I think it's Suffering and Paranoia. Could be wrong on the Paranoia part, but I think Paranoia should be decently expensive. Suffering was one of the most expensive, and then the other one was definitely Paranoia. Suffering, Isolation, that's the one.
Entrance into Tangmazu's realm is revealed, but it won't be that simple to enter. Using his powers, he reflects the map boss for a ridiculous empowered fight, then destroys the entrance into his realm of madness. In order to find him now, you'll need to let the insanity fully into your mind. A strange fruit is left behind which you can consume to fully embrace the madness in an attempt to reach the Raven Trickster's realm. Consuming the fruit will cover an entire area of the Atlas and fog, and every map you do in the fog will get progressively harder and harder as you explore the deeper reaches of your mind. At some point you enter a new layer. A simulacrum of your memories twisted and perverted by the Raven Trickster. Should you be able to complete the simulacrum, Tangmazu will believe that you are worthy of a true challenge, and will let you take the remaining shard of his mirror, allowing you to enter his realm of madness back at the Withered Willow. If you dare to face him,
By the way, I'm almost 100% sure that the Raven flocked staff and the Auspex are all from Delirium. Like, it's obvious because there's a lot of Raven references in Delirium, so it's kind of obvious that this is the source for those two uniques. This fight is so fucking creepy, can I just say? Like, this is actually the stuff of
that's
nightmares.
The storyline of Delirium. As you can see, it's not only a quest line, there are new mechanics, new crafting options, and new boss fights. But one question you might have is, what happens after? Well, once you've completed the story, grand mirrors will start appearing on the Atlas sometimes after completing Delirium encounters. After doing the grand mirror, you can select where on the Atlas you want to do your fruit-induced drug trip and get another key to fight Tangmazu. But this time, the fight will be quite a bit harder. And not only that, the fight will be able to drop a bunch of new uniques that were not available in the questline version. After doing a grand mirror, the decision of where to spread the fog can be important, because there are some potent emotions that only come from certain map bosses affected by Delirium this way. Like all emotions, they can craft special mods onto jewels, but these potent emotions can create mods that you can't get any other way. So for example, potent liquid melancholy is an emotion that can only come from human bosses, and allows you to add a variety of on-hit effects. Also, you might want to try instilling amulets with these emotions. They could have some interesting effects, with some powerful notables that do not normally exist on the tree. Like Storm's Rebuke, which makes armor break boost your cold and lightning damage. But also notables from a clear, which makes armor break boost your cold.
Also increases cold and lightning damage taken from hits. So that means even on a minion build, we'd want this notable because it's just more cold and lightning damage taken. But then we have to figure out breaking armor. Assuming we're going cold or lightning, so like lightning major, like storm skeletons, I forget what they're called, will want this notable, or yeah, they want this notable.
Damage. But also notables from a clearly deranged mind, like Calm's Blessing. This skill allows you to ancestrally boost fire spells after using a Warcry. How about using an ancestral Flame Blast? Now, just like before, you can also upgrade the League by getting points for a dedicated Delirium Atlas tree. But this now works in a much better way and has much cooler effects. The maps in the Delirium area of the Atlas give you Delirium passive points for completing them, so it's easy to see how to progress. Some nodes will add new types of mirror shard encounters to your Deliriums.
Delirium encounters, slaying unique monster pauses the mirror for 20 seconds. At 25% more likely to spawn unique bosses.
Will add new types of mirror shard encounters to your Deliriums. Like this one, which will pause the Delirium for some amount of time, allowing you to more easily get to higher depths. Or this one, which adds extra Delirium modifiers to monsters when you pick it up. There are also nodes that can add new types of drops, like this one, which
did they actually show the modifier that added that one?
Which adds extra, allowing you to more easily get to
oh
higher
yeah,
depths.
they didn't show this one, quotes.
Or this one, which adds extra Delirium modifiers to monsters when you pick it up. There are also nodes that can add new types of drops, like this one, which modifies Simulacrum encounters to add special liquid emotions, which can craft time-lost jewels. And nodes that apply to the Atlas mechanics of the League, like this one, which causes the Grand Mirror to spread Delirium fog over a larger area of the Atlas, potentially containing multiple Simulacrums. Alright, so that's the changes to Delirium. The core mechanic now includes a bunch of new things to find.
But that node doesn't say it's going to spread further. It just says additional Simulacrum and Delirium fog is spread. It doesn't say it's going to actually increase the range, you know, of the thing spreading, because Simulacrums are just, you know, special maps in this fog area.
Fog over a larger area of the Atlas, potentially containing multiple Simulacrums.
Like that first thing he said doesn't
so that's the changes to
mean larger. It doesn't show.
The core mechanic now includes a bunch of new things to find, new monsters to kill, and has new mechanics
holy
on the
Kosis
Atlas.
looks.
It also has
Wait,
new
who was that
crafting system
giant
for
guy?
jewels, and over 20 new unlockable notables for amulets. Not only that, but you have a new pinnacle boss with a bunch of new unique items and a massively upgraded Atlas tree just for Delirium.
The fuck is this middle guy? Now this is the one I think I want to see the
When you
most.
first complete a ritual in the endgame, Aoife, a lost spirit, will appear. She appears to need your help, but isn't able to communicate more than a few words, beckoning you to come to the Wildwood. Like the other leagues, Ritual now has a place on the Atlas to call home. The Wildwood could be found to the west. When you first arrive there, Aoife's spirit will guide you in, where you will discover that inside the Wildwood, spirits can take physical form. Aoife has been bound to this place by the King in the Mists, and requests that you free her. But in order to do so, you will need her body, currently in possession of the king. To reclaim it, you will need to gain an audience with him. Inside the Wildwood, there are many ritual encounters to complete. Like before, in each area, triggering rituals will resurrect the nearby bound monsters to attack you, and killing the monsters will give you tribute. In addition, each ritual you do in the area will add the monsters from the previous ritual, making the encounters much more challenging the more rituals you complete. Once you've completed them, spend your tribute to get items. Now, an important change to the rewards of Ritual is that all the items in the reward window are now uniques or omens, making this league's rewards much more valuable than before. In order to gain an audience with the Nameless King, you need to sacrifice tribute to him. Any remaining tribute you don't spend can be sacrificed this way to fill up this bar. Once you have enough tribute for an audience,
So that means there is going to be a ritual strategy where you literally don't buy anything unless it's really good. And instead of like trying to reroll through many windows, you're just sending it straight to him. Like, just give it this fight real quick. I actually like that. I really like that. I like the fact that now you're not dependent on finding lucky items to get value out of your tributes. It's no longer, oh, you have 1,000 tribute left. You could have had more windows. Get fucked. We'll go to the next map, and the next map you can only roll twice because Ritual had such a feast of famine feel to it when it came to reroll cost and all these other attributes gain and all those other things, that I like the fact that now there will probably be strats other than just get as many pages as you can and as many rerolls as you potentially can and differ as much as you can,
return to the Wildwood to divine his location with the Nameless Shrine.
I think I'm going to start with
Location will
Ritual.
be revealed deeper in the Wildwood, and you will need
I
to
just
make
like
your way to
Ritual.
him
In theory too, at least.
and get Aoife's body. Using her body, you can attempt to release her spirit, but this is when you learn about the true threat of the League. The Wildwood is built on top of an ancient prison. The King in the Mists didn't gain his power out of nowhere. He was granted it by an ancient being of darkness known as the Bodark, and the Nameless King's use of this power has been causing the prison to weaken.
The
In order to
Bodark.
prevent the Bodark from entering the world, a champion will need to enter its prison and beat him back, but those with a name are unable to survive there. In order to do so, you will need to transfer your name to another with a new mechanic in the Ritual League.
By the way, can I just say the whole premise of you have to transfer your name to someone else or something else in order for you to become nameless and go fight this creature. I love that from a lore perspective or from just an immersion point of view. Like, it's so cool. Now, the act of doing it could end up being ass or whatever, but like just conceptually, that is so freaking cool. I love it.
The Rite of the Nameless. The rite will begin in a nearby forest. At first, it appears to be a regular ritual encounter, but that will soon change. The final ritual of the area will include the map boss. And defeating him will give you a piece of the effigy onto which you will transfer your name. But the ritual is still not complete. Once the map boss is defeated, the atlas will open and you will need
Wait,
to
hold
pick
up.
another
Hold up. What was that?
complete.
What is this?
But the ritual is still not complete. Once the map boss is defeated, the atlas will open.
I don't think that's
and
new
you will need
though.
to
I feel
pick
like it's
another
not new.
adjacent map to continue the ritual. During the rite, each
All unique favors at ritual altars will instead be currency. Holy. Can we get these modifiers elsewhere? Can we actually get this elsewhere?
adjacent map will have different rewards to tempt you. So for example, if you go in this direction, you gain significantly more tribute. But if you go in this direction,
We're going in this
the uniques in the
direction.
reward window will turn into
It's not even
currency
a
instead.
question.
You can also sometimes get offered specific items that will be added as rewards. So in this case, you'll have to choose if you want to get 5 Chaos Orbs or a Mage Blood. A difficult decision, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, just get the Chaos Orbs, call it a day. We all know this is gonna be ass. I'm joking. Fucking Mage Blood. The fact that we still have zero idea what this does. they're going to really have to like hide it, if or otherwise we're gonna know from data mine instantly. And I mean, I'm not trying to farm mage blood before I see what it is. So day one, you best believe I'm gonna be checking PoE 2DB to see if we actually know what mage, if the mage blood information has been data mined, or do we have to wait for it to show up on trade. But I think in recent releases we've been getting more and more of those uniques where we have to wait until it's on trade before PoE 2DB can update with it, right? We've been getting that a lot more. Give me a quick second. Bro, what is happening here? All right. Where were we?
Now, as this is one continuous ritual, the encounters in the next map won't start from scratch. They contain all the monsters that were gathered from the rituals of the previous map as well, making them harder and harder.
But do they still proceed to give the same rewards? Like if I pick Mage Blood, do I get 5 maps of Mage Bloods? Also, what was the verbiage here? Foretold bounty. Oh, so there's going to be, it just means there's going to be this, not that. So you get this alongside whatever else is there. I don't know if it's, if you don't have to pay for it, or if you have to pay for it and it just guarantees it to the window. No idea. Kind of curious.
The encounters in the next map won't start from scratch.
But does this also mean that we're getting, like, my big thing is, does this mean we get a lot more tribute each time? And that's the question.
They contain all the monsters.
Let me see. I don't have any unique, but kind of wish it was 50% for unique big currency instead. Why? Why would you want that? All right, let's continue.
Gathered from the rituals of the previous map as well, making them harder and harder. And that includes the map boss too. You will need to defeat both map bosses in the final encounter for your next effigy piece. And it still doesn't end there. Pick another map, another reward, and add
That screenshot is literally from the if it was on the tree, it wouldn't be on the right.
another map
Where are we?
in the final encounter for your next effigy piece. And it still doesn't end there. Pick another map, another reward.
Rerolling. You don't have to click so quick. 5 chaos orbs, or can I also just say, even though you click this one, we don't have a direct map there, so we literally have to clear. I think the player is currently here. That is such a long way. You have to clear this one, then this one, right? Or this one, this one, this one, or this one, this one, this one. But this is covered in black, so I don't even know if you can just do this, or can you like this might take a bit. This might take a while, which makes me question it. But we'll see. Select one map. What does that even mean?
Pick another map, another reward, and add another
you
map
couldn't go
to
there.
continue until the ritual of the Nameless is complete. It will take 5 maps in all, and will be an incredible challenge. But once complete, you can return to the Wildwood to perform the final rite. Transfer your name to the effigy, adorn the crown of the Nameless King, and enter the prison. Now, of course, once the Pinnacle boss is complete, the League doesn't end there. As you do rituals on the Atlas, you can continue to give tribute to the King in the Mists for another audience.
Surely you don't skip the freaking amelioration that's in your window, right?
Pick another forest to begin the rite of the Nameless once more.
Wait, so
King in the Mists for another audience.
okay. So then you use the item audience with the king to start the next nameless ritual, the nameless rites, which means in theory you can just keep spamming nameless rites and trying to farm currency that way. In theory.
Pick another forest to begin the rite of the Nameless once.
One Divino Audible. Rerolling has no cost. Cool.
And this time with a harder Pinnacle boss and new unique items to find. Of course, we've also significantly
So if you can't kill the boss, what happens then?
upgraded the Ritual Atlas tree. Get points by completing maps in the Wildwood, and you'll be able to unlock some pretty cool nodes. Some of them affect the Rite of the Nameless, like this one, which extends its duration. You thought fighting 5 map bosses at once was hard? How about 6?
Holy.
Or this one, which makes maps during the rite have more
20% chance of an additional modifier. Woo! This could be spicy. Greater annul and rerolling costs no favor. This could be spicy. Like the implications of the tree and what the nodes it could have. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Ritual feels this league.
reward mods, often having 2. You also have nodes that allow things to combine with other content, like this one, which gives a
Rituals have a fitting to be choose on someone in circle. Summon additional boss when activated. 6 is also just 2 bosses at a time now, so that's fine, to be honest. Do you mean like 6 maps? Did they say for a fact that they won't spawn more until you kill them? Because it also kind of, I feel like from what they said, it sounded like they were just staggered. So if you had low DPS, you will end up in situations where you're facing more of them or something like that, which would be counterintuitive. Because like I know in this reveal they showed like 5 bosses at a time. Like they actually showed all of them spawned at the same time. It's more interesting than period 1. Oh, 100%. A lot more decisions to be made, and I really like that. I really like it as a concept. So we'll see. I think my prediction for Ritual is we're going to have 2 different farms for Ritual. We're going to have 2 different farms for Ritual. Farm 1 will be trying to get as much tribute as you can from your regular Ritual encounters, so you can farm as many audience with the king as possible and sell those, because I think it will still be an item you can sell. Farm 2 will be buying those same audiences and just trying to only farm Rites of the Nameless to get those extra modifiers and make bank on Mage Bloods and all these other modifiers you're getting there. Side note, I really hope Mage Blood can roll naturally on the tree and that there are no Rite of the Nameless exclusive uniques, but I see something like in Mage Blood being Rite of the Nameless exclusive. Like you have to get that lucky. I imagine, at least. It's possible that it's not, but it's possible that it is. We'll have to see. think that really highlights the map atlas in the game better than other strategies. I agree. The one thing I noticed that I don't know if I'm a fan of, which it kind of brings back problems they had, which is kind of like setups to go like the same way how when you're pathing to a tower in the way PoE was, it's a wall drop. Okay, so that means it should be in regular rituals as well. That's fine then. That's fine. I remember Mark saying it now that you mention it. So that's fine. Anyways, what I was saying is I also see this having somewhat of a problem old towers had, which is if you know that when you run this content or something, it is giga rewarding, then everything leading up to that point is unrewarding by comparison. So, and what do I mean by that? The right of the nameless, these bounties aren't necessarily connected to where you currently are. So let's say I picked this one, right? I can't just run that map next and keep chaining, it looks like. I would have to run either 1, 2, 3 or like 1, 2. Unless I actually just have, like, it's not a choice and I just run through everything, which I don't think was what they said. I think you have to select the one you want, because they say or when they were selected, right? So if I chose this one, I'd have to clear this map and then come to this map or something along those lines, which is less than ideal. So that means, let's say there was an earlier example that I used in this video. It's like here.
Still doesn't end there.
Yeah, here. This guy is all the way here, and there's like, I think here's the interesting thing though. It's kind of glowing blue that indicates you can run the map, kind of like here. I don't fully understand why like this are all blue. When like this one being a map you've run kind of makes sense for like this one. But like, why is here blue? Maybe this is connected to somewhere past this wall that you have. Maybe. And if that were the case, why is here blue? The unique tablet for towers? It can't be the unique tablet for towers because then everything would be blue, but not everything is blue. They think like here is not blue, this is not blue, this is not blue. Like, so there's enough nodes in between. Like here, this are blue, but this is not. There's enough things in between that makes me believe they didn't use a tower. Not to mention there is no tower that would cover this entire screen from off screen. Like if a tower was here, it would cover like here. It wouldn't cover the entire screen, and we would see the AoE. So I don't think it's the tower. It's either we can just run any map in this fog looking thing, or there's some weird shit going on in here. No idea. But my hope is that you don't have to go with like, to get here you have to do one. You have to do like 1, 2 or 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, I kind of, what I would like is you select it and then you can just run the map instantly. And then you select the next one, you can run it instantly. And then you select the next one, you can run it instantly. That would be, in my opinion, what feels best, at least, you know.
This one, which makes maps during the write have more reward mods, often having 2. You also have nodes that allow things to combine with other content, like this one, which gives a chance for rituals to be created inside summoning circles.
Which, by the way,
to the ritual
this is also just big because this effectively means that you get more tribute because it's a boss. It's a very healthy amount of tribute having a boss spawn in your ritual
encounter. There is even a node which adds a new type of possible ritual.
Holy, Queen's Ritual?
Which causes the bride of the king to sometimes appear.
Sure, you didn't let me say it. I was going to say surely they tell us what the bride of the queen does, or even why we want it.
A new type of possible ritual, the audience with the queen, which causes the bride of the king to sometimes appear.
Like, okay, 8% is a very big chance for something like this, which makes me think, what does audience with the queen freaking do? Is it its own boss fight? Is it like different uniques? Is it like, I don't even know, man. The fuck could it be? I assume it's just like a special ritual, like the div card ritual in PoE 1. Like it just enables this as a special ritual, and then in there, maybe she has multiple audience with the kings as options, and now you're trying to just buy it, or delay as many as you can. Maybe, who knows? It's possible. Just spitballing, of course. But yeah, those were two really good videos. Ritual and Delirium.
As you
Looking forward to actually playing it. I think Ritual so far has been the one that I've been most hyped to play. Expert as a close, I won't say close second. Expert as a second though. Ritual, I am hyped to experience the changes. Expert as a second, Delirium as a third, Breach as a fourth. Breach, I've practically already played in PoE 1, so like, I could play it, I could not play it, that'd be fine. Delirium, I have a lot of mixed feelings about Delirium, simply because of the changes they did to the fog. Like, I don't know how it's going to land. I don't know that it's going to be great. It seems a bit awkward, seeing as now there is seemingly no reason to kill regular monsters in Delirium, unless it's just the monsters that you kill that have a chance of dropping the emotions. But like, it looked like if you wanted to complete the fog, if you will, you should be ignoring monsters to the best of your abilities and just trying to beeline it into the fog, and that, in my opinion, is a bit awkward. Not to mention some layouts are just very ass on Delirium. Now, this is not to say there aren't layouts that are just ass on like Ritual or something else, but Delirium, by comparison, if your layout is it doesn't go in a straight line but it's like a square, all of a sudden at some point, not even a square but like some weird shape, then you have a situation where sometimes you're literally going back out of the fog to progress in your map, and stuff like that just feels mad awkward. Ritual's entire awkwardness ends at, oh, this ritual is being cut off by terrain, which sucks. But I would say it's probably easier for GG to fix than layout issues with Delirium. But I guess if they wanted to, they could make it so the fog goes alongside paths or something, so you run into that less. But from a law point of view, that is very unlikely to happen, or emergent standpoint rather. There we go. This is Spirit Walker.
We mountain boy.
All right, so we're gonna end stream soon, but before I do that, I want to plan my ascendancy points. So I just want to see them again. I know the first ascendancy I am very likely to get. Like I said before, people have been talking a lot about tame beasts or tame bosses as the first ascendancy. I think that would likely just end up being bait. Because more likely than not, what I will end up doing early on is, depending on how good the companion nodes are in the area, and hopefully, and this is just a big hopefully, this area is going to have some companion damage in it, so we can actually get some companion nodes coming out of the Spirit Walker side, I'm hoping. But aside that, if there are some really good companion nodes, what I'll end up doing is I'm going to just use a regular tame beast. Find a mob that's pretty good in the first few zones, maybe one that's ranged or one that is melee. We'll see what I end up deciding. Probably lean towards ranged, maybe the porcupines or something. Go with that guy and then use the bear. That being said, 2 minions, isn't really the best for clear speed. But neither is having the one, which is the boss. So we'll have to figure out how we're going to balance this. I know eventually I'm going to work my way to Trusted Kinship, which allows me to have 2 different companions, and I forget what else it has. I can use 2 different companions, and then I have preservation efficiency of companion skills, but less for non-companion skills. So it'd be harder to use regular minions. But because the nodes I have are companion specific, odds are I'm not going to be really using many non-minions to begin with. So it's efficiency and plus companion. So I'd probably use this early on. That gives me 2 companions and a bear. So I think without a doubt, the best first, the safest first ascendancy is the bear, followed by the boss, and then you go for the extra damage, the weapons applying to your companions, and then you go for idolatry last. Idolatry being the worst thing you can potentially pick up early on, simply because you don't have access to idols yet, at least. Where's the bear? Yeah. What are you sending?
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of
Holy fucking 3 minutes ago.
Exile.
Wait,
During
drops?
the launch of Return of the Ancients,
What the
we're
fuck
running
is this?
2 weeks of Twitch drops,
Holy, is it Waystone?
as well as a supporter streamer campaign.
That is a disgusting pet.
During
I love
the
it.
first week of launch, you'll be able to claim the Arbiter of Ash Waypoint. By
Oh,
watching your
I
favorite
really like
creators
this
in the
one.
Path of
Please, please, please don't fucking have collision with these statues. Now, that would make it dead on arrival. I would not touch this if these I can collide with.
Exile 2 category for 3 hours. In week 2, you can claim the Wendigo's Crown Helmet attachment. Support your favorite creators by gifting 2 subs or subscribing to 2 channels in the Path of Exile 2 category to claim the Verisium Parasite pet. Embrace the Infinite Void with the Arbiter of Ash Waypoint. Should other exiles visit your hideout, they will be covered in ash upon entering.
Okay, I like
Become the
that.
Nameless with the Wendigo's Crown Helmet attachment. It offers 6 variations, allowing you to choose any combination you like, with or without visual effects. In addition, the helmet attachment tracks your kills across different types of monsters, be it beasts, humans, demons,
Holy.
constructs, or undead. Not all Verisium
And it's a helmet attachment, not a helmet. So you can use that with a different helmet MTX. I feel like PoE 2, I barely use regular MTXs. Like it's really just not something I use too often. Also, this pet is genuinely nasty.
spawns desperately want to end you, some simply need a little love. Like this
Even
Verisium
worse.
Parasite pet. That's a good boy. All of these items are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way.
Y'all don't want to
Thanks for
see my
watching.
face looking at
Have a
that.
great
Looking at that pet. I mean, I'll still get it, and I might even use it. But like, holy, that's fucking disgusting here. What the fuck? That is disgusting. That is actually just nasty. And that's how you did was well fucking designed. Shit looks too realistic. Give me a quick second. All right. So, we're talking about the bear, right? So, why I'm thinking of the ascendancy choices in the order that I am talking about is A, having the bear be the first ascendancy means you have +1 companion that doesn't take companion limits. So if you had just if you want to switch to companions after the first ascendancy, now you have 2 companions. Already, numbers advantage. Then the bear itself has AoE abilities. It has the slam, it has the jump. I think those 2 are 2 different AoE abilities. It also has decent what's it called? It also has decent, what the fuck is this called? Utility. It has decent utility, intimidate, all of that supports things. But you will scale it as DPS. It's just it also comes with these different things like maim, and it has good sustain by itself. Then, aside that, another advantage the bear has over the boss is, I mean, inherent sustain is nice, but another advantage it has is the bear is an ascendancy skill. The boss node allows you to use team beast on the boss, but with the bear, it's an ascendancy skill. So that means you don't have to spend a jeweler's orb getting an extra socket on it. And depending on when you do your first ascendancy, it might just come with 3, like as a 4 link, or probably won't come as a 5 link, because 5 link means you got it very late. But as a 4 link is very possible, allowing you to easily use your jeweler orbs on the other tame beast or other supports minions. Keep in mind, we do want support minions because pain offering is a thing. You know, I don't think we're skipping pain offering. So we need to have skeletal minions to help with that. But not only that, we're also going to need skeletal minions for muster support scaling. I assume muster didn't get touched, right? I don't think I saw muster get touched, but let's just be sure. You know, you can never be too sure with GGG. Just see an update tomorrow. Muster doesn't exist anymore. Can never be too sure with them. But that's why I think this is going to be the first this is the ideal first ascendancy. And of course, at this point, you still, if you had to get the team bosses, odds are you're not going to have trusted kinship, or you might have trusted kinship allocated. You have enough points for it. But if there are enough like good notes coming out of Ranger, then, you know, you'd be giving up a lot to have trusted kinship. Not to mention, it also reduces your overall minions if you're using non-companions. So yeah, we're essentially going to have to see just how good the companion buffs were, and how I'm going to figure out what the best combo of like tamed beasts I can have for my one tamed beast beside the bear for best coverage. And I think honestly it might just be porcupines from Act 1. Off the top of my head, at least, I can't think of another minion that would perform better for wave clear, because porcupines just shoot. I don't think they have inherent pierce, which would mean they can chain and all these other things, which means we can actually use support gems to help increase their wave clear and then rely on the bear for a single target. Or alternatively, once we have trusted kinship, maybe that's an argument for boss node first, because then we have the boss for single target and the other one for clear. We'll have to weigh our options. Porcupine crab, I think it's called. Bruh, I accidentally put something in front. Oh, still got it. Porcupine crab, spike burst. Oh shit, it has reverse point blank. Not great, if I'm being honest. Okay. But yeah, it doesn't have inherent pierce, which is what I came here to find out. Reverse point blank isn't great, but it's also not the end of the world. Who else is there in those biomes that's a beast? Those vultures can also be pretty decent. Vile vultures, I believe, is what they're called. Vile vulture. But they use a cooldown leap, right? Or is it based on distance? They nerfed the distance leap slam. I think it's based on distance, but they nerfed the distance because it was getting obnoxious to face it. So I think if you can get the leap slam to also to like do really good damage with the new modifiers, this might honestly be very, very good. It might be a very good option for minions. Simply because then you're relying on the leap slam to literally just clear. Like, oh, jump, dead, jump, dead, jump, dead. And then if there are monsters outside the AoE, it then proceeds to fight. But because this doesn't have the AoE tag. It doesn't have area tag. Which means we can't scale the AoE on the leap slam. Doesn't look like we can. That is unfortunate. Interesting. River Barons or interlude. Besides this, what else is a monster that I think we could potentially use as a beast of choice? For the boss, that would be Crowbell. Aside Crowbell, is there anybody in the first areas? I don't think they will let us use Geonor. I highly doubt they will let us use Geonor because it's not just the beasts. And thematically, I think they'll find it weird. Can I just search beasts? What about something as simple as a pack werewolf? Not the small guys, but the big ones that would chase you in the Growlwood. Were those pack werewolves? What else was in this pack? Looks like it was just pack werewolf. Owl? If it does really good damage, it has a slow base attack time though. But if it does really good damage, this says medium movement, so it makes me think this is not the right one because the one I'm thinking about is pretty fast as far as minions go or enemies go. Huh. Werewolf Prowler. Even slower attacks. What's his face? Trudy Toru? Werewolf. I think it's actually Werewolf Prowlers. It's Werewolf Prowlers. Yeah, these are the guys. I wish I could see if he would use just one of them. Wait, you can't. You couldn't use. You can use heavy swing. Oh, he's saying those are replacements. Oh, okay. Bruh. Quality, please stop it. Thank you. Not quite the speed I was expecting. Not the speed I was expecting. Okay. The werewolf idea is the bust. Pack werewolves are the small ones. Okay. Just have to be sure. But wait, would these ones not be faster? But they honestly look like weaker werewolf prowlers. They don't particularly look that much faster. And I would say they're probably just straight up worse than werewolf prowlers, because like if you look at this level 90, let's say 373559, 547820. So 559 was the high end of the other ones, and that's the low end of prowlers, which is just, you know, way better. I can't see the spirits here, but $50 spirits, it looks like. $50 spirits. Whereas werewolf prowlers, I mean, it doesn't matter because it's all going to be percent, but I feel like the regular spirits cost would have a say in the amount of percent spirits gets reserved, you know. I could be wrong on that though. 64 spirits. So yeah, this one isn't even like double the cost or anything. It's like 14 extra spirits for like, I don't say double the damage, but like 50% more damage or something like that. Actually crazy. So there would be no reason to use pack werewolves over werewolf prowlers. That being said, neither of them were the ones I was looking for. Voracious werewolves though. Assume, yeah, they're just werewolf prowler reskinned. $50 spirits. So they are cheaper than werewolf prowlers. Unless he has some spirit nodes, which he very well could, I guess. These, I think, are the ones that are supposed to be quick. They aren't that quick either. Yeah, never mind. So none of them are quick to the point that it's worth running as the solo. So you just focus on things that have AoE. The things that have AoE, the werewolves are definitely not any of them. Bramblehawk is a beast. That is the gorilla, the one that leaps. But it has a 5-second on its leap, and we can't get CDR anywhere within reason, at least. It does have good strike range, but Fungal artillery. Is that the flying? The one that shoots the mortars or the fungal ground. That one is a beast? Would not have guessed. Huh. This is an abyss mob. The beetles. The fuck is the ninth treasure of Keth? Oh, is that the big beetle? Probably. I feel like that's a gilded beetle though. Maybe the gilded beetle is the small one that explodes. Crag leaper. Crag leapers are very fast. Yeah, very fast movement, and they do a lot of leaps. It does look like they dodge a lot, which would be a problem. This is area damage, so it could scale off of AoE, but it doesn't have the area attacks. I doubt it will. Why are these guys missing the area attack? Kabbalah should have the area attack on her abilities. Yeah. Plague Swarm, Plague Harvester, Blood Gob. These are the mosquitoes. They have an inherent leech. Who would have thunk it? Quadrillas, Silver Fist, Zakoa the Head Crusher. Frozen Mandible. Don't they just become Nettle Ants now when they get spectered? Wait, what is the Frozen Mandible change? Wasn't that it? 0.4 patch notes. Or tamed beast. Okay, it's not spectre specific. It's also untamed beast. I just wanted to be sure. The blind beast. We don't have access to the blind beast until interludes, if I remember correctly. So we can't rely on that. Namahu Ravager. I actually don't know what you are, but you're probably an interlude mob, if I had to guess. Very slow movement is already a big no for me. The fungus behemoth. You're not sounding familiar. But you're not spectrable to begin with, which means I think enemies have to be spectrable first and foremost before you can tame them. Balak the Sky Seer. Nameless stuff. Fettered Spider isn't till endgame, so like for leveling, this isn't even an option. experimental stuff, i.e. from Alva Temple. Honestly, not impressed by the beasts that showed up here. I don't know if these are all of them. Probably is. Spirit Walker able to tame beasts type bosses. So these are all the beast type bosses. Harambe MK2. Harambe, the hardcore run, and Lamau. Whoever did this had fun. Poison flower boss. Oh shit. I don't think you have any special moves. Yeah, kind of us. The one in the zone that has the chimera. They are in the same zone, these two. Land Shark could honestly be decent, but that is also an Act 4 thing. You know, a post King's March something. Fire dude at the gates. Isn't that the beast that is just the blind beast but fire? I feel like it is. But I guess he is fire, so like he has fizz as fire. So he is a base elemental, so that kind of gives him an edge over just straight up the blind beast. So I think honestly the Fell Flame might be something worth considering because of all the fizz extra fire he has. Okay, no, he converts. He's not fizz extra fire, he converts. Still has a lot of like more AD, but yeah. I assume the other one does as well. Anyways, that is what I think my ascendancy order is going to be. So bear, boss, damage from weapon, idolatry, or maybe idolatry beats damage from weapons as a third. It depends on how much, if we are actually using idols from campaign or not, but odds are we're not going to be using them. Very, very unlikely that we do use them. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm going to end it here. I should be back. I honestly don't know what my tomorrow looks like. We're going to take this week day after the other, or one day at a time, because my entire schedule is, you know, this week is a bit hit or miss for me. So we'll see. There is a universe where we take a stream break and come back for the launch. We'll see. Not 100% yet. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate it. I will be back possibly tomorrow. Till then, have a good night.